Well, the fog has lifted in Canberra and perfect conditions for what should be a cracking game of football today in the nation's capital. Welcome to Football Park in Phillip for round 9 of the NEAFL. The Canberra Demons hosting Sydney Uni. I'm Eddie Williams. With me is Chris Coleman. And Chris, we're really looking forward to this one.
This is going to be a good game. This will be a cracker. You've got both sides sitting on 3 wins. The Sydney Uni side sitting 4th, 3-3 with a percentage of 116.6. I don't think they've come up against the Brisbane Lions juggernaut just yet. The Canberra Demons sit a couple of spots further down with a 3-4 win-loss record from their 7 games so far and a percentage of 81.3. Lovely day for footy, maybe a little on the chilly side if you're in the shade, but as you can see, the ground bathed in glorious sunshine. We have an official temperature of 12 degrees at the moment, but there's just enough of a breeze to make it feel like it's about 7. Officially, I'm told there is a southerly blowing averaging 15 kilometres an hour. You can see the trees in the background of your shot. There is hardly a zephyr amongst them, so we would say almost perfect conditions for footy. And as far as we're able to tell, Eddie, it'll be Sydney Uni going to the left of screen, the Canberra Demons going to the right of screen. So if there is any breeze, it'll be favouring the Sydney Uni side to start.
The Demons beat the NT Thunder up in Darwin last week. Sydney Uni had the bye, and a big occasion for Canberra today with their captain Aaron Bruce playing his 150th NEAFL game. He's only the 4th player to do so. He's the first Canberran. The others are Darren Ewing and Cameron Eilert from the NT Thunder, and also Reece Toy from Aspley. These two sides will get to know each other pretty well in season 2019. They come up against each other 4 times. This is game 2. Canberra has won the past 2 matches against the Students by 5 points earlier this year and by 9 points in last year's elimination final. We're about to get underway. Over to you, Chris Coleman.
Thank you very much, Eddie. The big question this afternoon, can the Canberra Demons register their first win at Footy Park in Phillip since adopting it as their home ground late last season? It's a number or a record that I'm sure they are looking to beat. The ball bounced by Sam Nipris in the centre of the ground, and it is, well, not contested by anybody. Gets away there under the arm of Angus Baker, picked up off the ground now by Guy Richardson. He can't get a handle on it. Hiscox comes in, hot potato, ball comes out, and it goes finally in the Canberra direction, and they'll bring it around the main grandstand side here at Football Park now. Short ball over to the wing position, gets in front of Pollock, tapped away to the advantage of, I think it might be Baker it is, who's come round down to the wing position. Inside the forward 50, Canberra have had trouble converting there through the course of the season. Pake having a go, can't really get control of it, and it's kicked away now very quickly by the Sydney Uni side off the hands of the pack, and comes down to Tom Bandwellos with a little hand pass then over to Adam Goulden. Goulden kicks the ball into a completely vacant forward 50. Tristan Davies perhaps goes for the opposition rather than the ball, and that means a turnaround, and it's coming back for the Canberra Demons. Smout has it, short hand pass. Gee, it's quick this footy at the moment. They go through a couple of hands and it winds up with Highmore before it spills over the boundary line. I just take a breath, Eddie.
You mentioned there, Chris, Canberra's efficiency going forward hasn't been that great this season. Both these teams average 50 inside 50s per game, but as you say, Sydney Uni has been more efficient, so that'll be one to watch this afternoon. A challenge today for Josh Maynard up in ruck against the Sydney Uni captain Sam Tagliabue. Tagliabue took it out of the ruck, hand pass forward inside 50, couldn't find a target. Richardson's there, he's tackled, will get a ball up inside 50 for Sydney Uni, so a fast start to this match. No one able to hit the scoreboard just yet. We've gone 90 seconds here at Phillip, but a pretty frenetic game, and certainly a game both these sides are looking to win. They play each other 4 times, and the side that can win the majority of those games will be in a pretty good position, certainly in the top 6. That kick goes out of bounds on the full, and it'll be Tom Highmore, the Canberra Demons co-vice captain, to take the resulting free kick. He's got Maguire leading short. He's got Hardy a bit longer than that. In the end, he goes towards Jack Powell. It was knocked away from him by Fong. Ball comes to ground. Bruce is there, the Canberra captain. He lays a tackle. Maynard prizes the ball out. He's tackled as well. We'll get another ball up. So the Demons moving the ball forward by inches as Maynard and Tagliabue get ready to go up in ruck again. Challenge for Josh Maynard coming up against such quality ruckmen every week here in the NEAFL. Kicked inside 50 by Monty Crockmull. Bud knocked it away. Ball still in dispute. It's hacked forward by Bartholomew's. Canberra should have the numbers here. Bit of a fumble there by Highmore, but he recovered. He kicks out towards Powell, who takes the mark.
Powell just inside his own 50. Could go long down the wing, instead goes across, switching play to the other side of the ground. Dangerous play, but it works out well for them, and it winds up in the hands of Stevenson. Haven't seen a lot of him so far this season. A couple of hand passes now. Baker are getting involved at both ends of the ground, and Baker now turns around. Ball comes back in, and we find it with Powell. Powell turning the ball further forward. And the Canberra side, they're doing it well at the moment, just going to uncontested play wherever possible, in towards centre half forward, and that's a good grab by Pake, I think it is, who's moved up to the ground at centre half forward. Might be just outside his scoring range. He certainly thinks it is. He's looking to pop the ball off into the pocket now, and decides to blaze long. I tell you what, it wasn't outside his range, Eddie. Accuracy left a little bit to be desired, but next time maybe line up and have a shot.
Well, he's kicked a few goals in the past couple of weeks. We know he spent most of last season at full-back. They've used him as a mobile ruckman. This season, spending a bit more time up forward, and he'll probably be the focal point for the Canberra Demons today. As the ball is thrown back inside 50 for Canberra. Maynard won the hit-out. There's a contest inside the 50. We'll get another stoppage.
My apologies. I think I called Matt Vardeniger-Stevenson earlier. Apologies for that one to the Vardeniger family.
Stevenson wearing the number 21 for Sydney Uni today. Pollock, who kicked the match winner when these two sides met a few weeks ago. He's got another one, Reece Pollock. The Rising Star nominee last week. He kicks the opening goal, and the Demons lead by 6.
He's in some pretty good form of late, and, the Canberra Demons side, they don't have a really dominant full forward, Eddie. We've talked about it a few times during the course of this season. They really do rely on a battery of goal kickers, and they need players like Reece Pollock to stand up and get a few today.
That's right. He's been in Canberra's best 3 times so far this season. Averages 1.5 goals per game. They'll be hoping to get a couple of goals out of him today. Marist College Junior, 34 goals from 32 NEAFL games. That'll increase now to 35 goals. So really one of the up-and-coming players in the comp. 3 goals last week, and good to see him on the scoreboard again.
He'd know the local conditions too, wouldn't he? Because Marist College only, about 2 kilometres away to the southwest of this ground. They've got a very nice Aussie rules ground there too at Marist College these days. I don't think they had one when I was a schoolboy here in Canberra. I think they were all rugby union fields. So big change there as the ball goes down in the centre of the ground. And tapped to no real advantage. Kel Evans comes in under the pack, but it's taken away by Veal for Sydney Uni. They go around onto the far wing now. Hot contest for the ball, and it's run out over the boundary line just outside the attacking 50 for the Uni. Love this away strip for Sydney Uni. I saw them earlier in the year at home up at Blacktown playing against the NT Thunder in a game where they handed out an absolute hiding to the side from the Northern Territory. They have 2 very good strips, the Sydney Uni side. I reckon that was Tagliabue getting in there, getting a clear possession and then sending the ball back into the pack. A clearing kick goes well. It doesn't actually clear anything. It goes back into the pack again. So still plenty of contest, plenty of flies around the honeypot, if you like. And we'll see the umpire come in with another ball up. I should mention the umpires today, by the way. In number 7, I think that's him balling it up. It is. That's Nick McGuinness. Sam Nipris in 9 and Sam Herford in 25.
You mentioned that away strip. They probably didn't have to wear it much, the students, until the Canberra Demons came into the NEAFL wearing pretty much the same colours. The students go inside 50. Davies has the ball. He's tackled. It goes out of play. We'll get a throw in forward pocket for Sydney Uni. Tristan Davies there. The students' real focal point up forward. Joined the club last season after previously playing with Williamstown down in the VFL. It's the Canberra Demons leading by 6 points as the ball's thrown back into play. Pake going up in ruck there against Tagliabue. Tagliabue won it down, but the Demons had the numbers around the contest. In the end, they cough up the ball. Big pack around here, and we'll get another ball up inside 50 for the students, searching for their first score of the afternoon. It's thrown up again. Neither ruckman could get a hand on it there. And the umpire's going to come in and do another ball up. So 3 consecutive stoppages inside 50 here for the students. They're locking it in. Can they try and create something from this contest? Maynard and Pake in ruck. Pake did some good follow-up work. It comes out there to Aino. Aino's kick is smothered. It goes over the boundary line, and we'll have yet another stoppage inside 50 for Sydney Uni.
Compare the last minute and a half of play to the first minute and a half of this game, Eddie. It's completely as though someone's poured glue over the ground just to slow things up. And it's been very, very stop-start after the first couple of minutes. We're absolutely frantic as the ball is retrieved by a spectator there. Boundary umpires today, give them a wrap as well. David Wood, Liam Cashin and Matt Thompson, and the goal umpires, Cara Brody and Dale Purin. Ball comes back into play, one down by the Demons, and they've got a few numbers on around this grandstand side. Highmore turns it around to the other side. Chasing after it might be Harper, who's returned from the VFL to play for the Demons and had a good game last week by all reports, but he's coughed it up. Sydney Uni, they're going back into attack. Highmore gets a hand on it for the Demons and manages to spoil and send it back out over the boundary line, so it'll be another throw in, but the Sydney Uni side, they're still bottling it up deep inside their forward 50. We don't keep stats on how long the ball's inside the forward 54, just how many times, but this would be about 3 minutes inside the forward 50 for the Sydney Uni side at the moment. Ball comes back into play towards the hot spot, tapped down by Tagliabue for the Uni. In and out and underneath, an up and under kick comes towards the goal, and it is taken I think, just in the field of play by Spina. Yes, so still Sydney Uni unable to break their duck. And Jonathan Spina will try to get the ball outside the defensive 50 for Canberra by putting it up into the vicinity of Sam Martin. Flies, can't quite take the mark, manages to get it back up off the ground, and then he's dragged off the ball. A couple of players dive in, and once again the ball over the boundary line for a throw-in.
So it's a pretty intense start to this match. One late change each for both sides. Jack Adamson comes in for Canberra for Connor Owen Orban, and NEAFL Coxall, the late inclusion for Will Sirakovsky for the Sydney Uni side. Paik and Tagliabue. It comes down there towards Maguire. He couldn't take it. Ended up with Osborne. His hand pass is intercepted by Bartholomew's. Got it working forward to Stevenson, who's been busy. Hands it back there to Barkley. He goes with the high ball inside 50. Canberra have the numbers. No mark paid. It comes out to Stevenson again. He's dispossessed immediately, and Maguire runs onto the ball. Hands it off to Vardaniga. Vardaniga gives it out there to Harper. Harper hands it towards Fall, who seems to be playing in defence today. Tom Fall, he couldn't take it. It'll come back through Barkley, who gives it off there to Morrison, and Morrison's snap misses to the right. So the students are on the board. They're one behind. The Demons, one straight 6.
Canberra maybe need to revise the options to get the ball out from their own end. A couple of long kicks might help. Evans takes a mark just inside his own 50, goes across field and finds Aino. Aino just inside the defensive 50. He's got Evans on short, who's run across right over to the boundary. Well, they get it outside the 50 now. Still not really game to go long. Could go for Hardy, who was running in screaming for it. Bruce was back a bit further, also yelling for it. Instead, they go to the contest right in front of our broadcast spot here. Comes off the hands there of Maynard. Now it's being contested for. Nice play from Baker. He's had a good game so far today, been very busy. Spoil comes, so unable to take the mark was Kilpatrick, but he then gets cleaned up. And he'll get the free kick. Oh, it's going the other way. Well, there we go. So the ball comes back, and it's a Pollock with the free kick, puts it in towards the centre square. Getting underneath it is Vardaniga. Vardaniga puts the Demons deep into attack. Push and shove underneath it. Ball comes off hands. Who can get the ascendancy? Nobody really. Is going to be tapped clear and goes over the boundary line, courtesy of Sam Fong. Throw in to take place just inside Canberra's attacking 50. Both sides have run plenty of changes already today as well. The interchange gate's been very, very busy this afternoon. Just spotting a few more players making their way back onto the field. Bartholomew is one of them. I think he's just come back on as well. Ball untouched as it goes to ground from the boundary throw-in, which means that it'll be Crockmell who gets the first chance at it, but he can't get control of it. Comes through the hands now to Hardy. Hardy looking for anyone in at centre-half forward, but it's a fairly hot contest for the ball in there. I'm not sure who it was underneath. It might have been Baker again. Ball comes back into the forward 50 for Canberra. But a grab taken in there by Fong, and Fong now at centre-half back goes short, finds Veal, and Veal turns the ball around to centre-wing position on the far side of the ground, and the Demons have once again had an ineffective forward 50. It's with Crockmall again, so he's getting his second involvement, finds a teammate over at the forward flank who blazes away. Probably would have been better to put it onto the chest of Joshua Stern, who was unmarked. But the ball trickles through for another point, so Sydney Uni double their score. They're 0-2-2. The Canberra Demons, one straight goal, 6, and believe it or not, we've been playing nearly 12 minutes here, Eddie.
Neither side making the most of those past couple of inside 50 entries as the Demons look to rebound from defence. The kick is towards Baker. In the end, he went the spoil. Gathers the ball there, Angus Baker. Did well. Kicks forward to the wing. Maguire will be second to the contest. And coming in to take the mark is Fong for Sydney Uni. He goes inboard to Kilpatrick. Kilpatrick goes short for Stevenson. Getting plenty of the footy so far, Stevenson. He just went with the short pass. Now it comes to Veal. Veal goes inside 50. It was over Davies' head, but his teammate was there to take the mark. And this will be a shot on goal to Sydney Uni for them to try and score their first and take the lead after the 12th minute mark here at Phillip Oval. Looks like it'll be Harry Morrison, who missed to the right a short time ago. He'll try and line up to kick there first.
Very strong mark. And really, you'd think with the weight of possession coming inside the forward 50, that the Sydney Uni side would like to be further in front than they'll be after this, should he kick truly.
Harry Morrison, the right foot drop, punt is away to the left.
Oh, it's a shocker.
Not often that you see Morrison's to the left.
Oh, no, especially not in Canberra.
So 3 behinds to the students. They trail by 3.
That'll be the last political joke for the afternoon, we promise. As the Canberra Demons look to bring the ball back into play and do so with the long kick this time, waiting underneath at his car. Pack flies and Maynard perhaps got the best of it, but it goes towards Sydney Uni again. That's Sam Barkley, and Barkley, he's got a man on his own in the centre of the field, and he goes to him now, and that would be Davies. Davies able to put his side into attack. Target may have been... not sure who the target may have been. Was it Morrison again coming out? It was. Couldn't do much with it, and it's, as you've been able to see, trickled away. No one able to get a clear position out of it, and it'll be a throw-in just in front of the scoreboard here at Football Park, Phillip Oval in the nation's capital. Just waiting for the ball to come back in. Williams versus Maynard in the ruck. No one really able to gain the ascendancy from it. The kick goes in towards the goal square. Offhands punched around volleyball style. Sydney Uni have more numbers at the fall of the ball, but they can't really do anything with it. Turning around onto the right foot and taking a snap from deep in the pocket. I think it may have been Stern, but instead Stern's shot bounces a couple of times and connects with the boundary post. So it'll be a throw-in about a metre from that post. Northern end of Phillip Oval. 6 plays 3 here. Low scoring affair to start with in this NEAFL Saturday afternoon game, as we wait to see if anyone can get away with the ball, and it's Baker. He's been about the best for Canberra so far, who gets some sort of a clearing possession in there. It might have been Maguire who was helping him out on the end of it. But again, the ball in the bottom of the pack, and another bounce to take place, or another ball to take place just on that 50-metre line. 6
disposals so far for Angus Baker, Chris. He's the leading possession winner on the ground, and Sydney Uni lead the inside 50 count, 8-2. 14 minutes played in the first quarter. The Demons only been inside 50 twice, but the students just not able to make the most of their opportunities inside 50 so far. It's the reverse of what we've seen at most Canberra Demons home games, where Canberra tends to dominate the inside 50s and just can't make the most of them. So a bit of a reversal so far this afternoon. It's thrown back in. Williams up in ruck against Maynard. They probably both got hands on it. Comes to ground, and we'll get another ball up inside 50 for the Sydney Uni side. Interesting to see Tom Fall playing in defence so far this afternoon. Normally plays up forward. Yeah, well, he'd be keen to run the length of the field again, Chris, and try and kick another goal of the year contender. He was pretty quiet last time we saw the Canberra Demons at this ground against Brisbane. Only had something like 4 disposals and 1 goal. So something different for Tom Fall today, as the Demons get a free kick, and that'll give Maynard the chance to clear the area and get the Demons working forward. He's got an option short in the pocket. That's where he goes. It was Evans who just threw it on the boot, kicks it beyond the defensive 50. It might be coming back pretty soon, though. It does. This will be the 9th inside 50 for Sydney Uni. Budd was in a good position, couldn't bring down the mark. It comes off to Morrison. His kick is along the ground. Maguire tracks it back. He puts it up towards Paik. Paik under a lot of pressure there from Kilpatrick. He had a teammate in Moline to help him out, and they see the ball over the boundary line. So we'll have a throw-in right on attacking 50 for Sydney Uni.
16 and a half gone in the opening quarter. Low scoring game. 6 points, plays 3. And it is just outside the 50, but when it lands, it'll be inside the 50, and then is punched back outside the 50, and it's the Canberra Demons who take it away, but only as far as Sam Fong for the Sydney Uni side turns around, pops it to Veal via hand. Oh, good pick up on the fly there by Lucas Moline, and he's able to go for a run straight through the middle of the ground. He puts the ball up towards Harry Carr. Carr puts the foot to the pedal, and he gets around. He turns to his left. He turns to his right. He gets back to a teammate who's running up towards the ground for him. And that'd be Kel Evans, who's gone 3/4 of the length of the ground, and he'll have a shot here. He's got Oh, I was going to say he's got no other thought in his mind, and then suddenly he got a call from a teammate. I think it might have been Aaron Bruce coming up the ground, but I don't know if Bruce was actually 15 away by the time that kick had been taken. It may have well wound up putting the Demons under pressure. So Evans will have the shot from just on the 50-metre arc. Puts it high. It's going to fall just short. A couple of people fly for it. Chasing around in there was Pollock, but he couldn't do anything with it. And the Demons, well, they've blown that opportunity for the moment. But, well, this man who's going to have leather poisoning by quarter time, Angus Baker, comes back. That'll be about his 8th possession for the game now. Puts a little chip pass into the forward 50. And here comes a man in the 150th game. He'd like a goal for his resume for this afternoon. It's Aaron Bruce for the Canberra Demons.
The Canberra Demons captain, and isn't it funny when you lock the ball inside your 50 and then it comes out, it tends to be a pretty open forward line up the other end, and the Demons need to try and make the most of these opportunities. It was great to see Aaron Bruce with his, we assume it was his young child, running out on the field before the game.
Well, we hope he didn't steal someone else's. A long-range bomb in game 150 for Aaron Bruce. It's got the distance. Oh, it's just short and comes off hands and is through for a point, but that puts Canberra Demons up to 7. 1-1-7 and the Sydney Uni side on 3. 18 and a half gone in the opening quarter. Scores hard to come by at the moment for both sides, as the Sydney Uni side do something we don't see a lot of here at Footy Park in Phillip. They go straight up the ground, and it didn't work out terribly well for them as Maynard got it and then passed it over to Vardaniga. Vardaniga then on his outside has Hardy, and Hardy just on the half-forward flank goes in towards the pocket. The ball comes off hands and it'll be a throw-in. There's an appeal for a little bit of a nudge under the ball there from Paik, but the umpire says nothing doing, and it'll be thrown in about 10 around from the Canberra Demons goal. Comes back into play. 20 out. Maynard gets the best of it. Funny old handball in there from Hardy towards the goal. And I think it's a Sydney Uni player who's grabbed it. It's actually a ball up. So there we go. So the ball up, umpire had it, and the ball still bouncing around on the ground and now trickles over the boundary. Oh, I'm a bit in advance. Trickles over the boundary line now and it'll be a throw-in. Or no, it's actually a ball upcoming, not a throw-in. So it didn't quite get over the boundary line. It was still going nowhere. Maynard tries to punch, gets it as far as Stevenson for the Sydney Uni side, and then we've got a kick that's rebounded out of bounds and it'll be a throw-in. Boy, it's turned into a scrappy old game here. You've certainly got two sides who know that this game means a lot for their respective finals chances and their finals positions in this NEAFL competition. Comes back into play, 40 out from the Canberra goal. Different
looking Canberra forward line today with Tom Fall playing in defence, no Adam Canash. We know that Ben Fulford isn't with the Demons side this season. Relying on Paik and Bruce as the tall targets and trying to get Pollock and Hardy on the scoreboard as well. We'll get another ball up inside 50 for Canberra. So they've managed to lock the ball in their forward line for the past couple of minutes as we tick into time on. Tagliabue up against Maynard. Maynard won that one down, but he couldn't find a target. Highmore and Vardaniga probably spoilt each other. In the end, Morrison came in for the students. He handed it off there to Cordell. Now it comes back to Morrison, who's been pretty impressive early. His kick is towards half forward. It's taken by Stern. Stern, a low kick, and it ends up with Hiscox, and Hiscox will have a shot.
That was a good pass. That was a good pass, and sometimes you've got to drop the eyes and just look for the target. And Hiscox got himself perfectly positioned.
So they've missed their first 3 shots this afternoon, the students. Jack Hiscox with an opportunity to try and put the Uni side in front and give them their first goal of the afternoon. We've played more than 21 minutes, so they've struggled a little bit when they have gone forward here, Sydney Uni. Jack Hiscox in the number 1 jersey. He'll kick from not much more than 30 metres out, and the right foot drop punt is straight over the goal umpire's head. So Uni are in front. They're up by 2.
139 to the Canberra Demons 117. I was expecting a lot more scoring for this one, Eddie. Just going from both of these sides' records in previous weeks. It was a
low-scoring affair when they met a few weeks ago, Chris, and we'll double-check the score. But we did mention earlier it was a 5-point win to the Canberra Demons earlier in the season when these two teams last met, and it was a pretty tight contest all day. I think about 10 goals kicked by each side. So a bit of an arm wrestle. They know for both teams, it's an important match to win because it's against an opponent who they are capable of beating. It's difficult to beat the Brisbane Lions. It's difficult to beat Southport. Both these teams really need to perform well against each other because they are so evenly matched.
Well, it's the should win, could win, nice to win division, and this is really it's a could win a game. As opposed to a nice to win, which is, say, up against the Brisbane Lions. It'd be nice to win, but the way they're going at the moment, not necessarily easy for either of these sides to bridge that gap early in the season. Ball is back in play, and there's been a push in the back found there by umpire Nick McGuinness, and it's going to go the Canberra Demons' way.
Last time they met, Sydney Uni 8-12-60 were beaten by the Canberra Demons 10-5-65 up at Henson Park.
Hardy goes to Osborne. It'll be funny if it winds up with Baker, because that'll be 16-17-18, but it doesn't. I think it's Smout who actually wound up with it. Now we're turning around. He's come up the ground. This time is Paik, and Paik from the wing puts the Canberra side back inside the forward 50. No one able to get there for the Demons, and it's Kilpatrick for the Uni side, for the students, who tries to get a hand pass away and is then tackled to the ground. Umpire will come in and ball it up about 40 out on the slightest of angles at the Canberra Demons end of the ground. A lot of congestion under the pack there. Powell was looking for it for Canberra. A couple of Sydney Uni players were in there as well, but it's really gone nowhere. Bartholomew's was one of those Sydney players, and he's having a bit more of a push and shove there with Powell. Best of the tap goes to Tagliabue for the students. Now that's Kilpatrick. He can't control the ball. A few people calling for ball. It's gone back in underneath the pack, and it'll be another bounce. This one now about 20 out from the Canberra goal. What have we played? 24 minutes here in the opening term. Ball up again. Canberra would like to have the lead back at quarter time. Paik goes in, gets the ruck work done, taps it. Surprise, surprise, into a pack of about 8 players. And once again, it'll be a ball up. I'm going to stay with this. I'm going to be obstinate, Eddie. I'm going to stay with this until the ball comes free one way or another. And now it does come free outside the 50. Clean bowls a couple of them, better than the Pakistani cricketers last night, as we see Tom Highmore now through hands. It comes back up. Might have been Aino in there. He turns it around, gets it onto a couple of teammates. They're going backwards to go forwards at the moment. They've got players open in the centre square, but instead going back inside the forward 50, and it's wasted. I reckon that might be Veal over there on the far side for the Sydney Uni side, getting a little pass around to the 50-metre line, and they'll bring it back around the grandstand side here. Kilpatrick's on his own. Down the goal square they've got Fong, or further up the ground they have Hiscox, but instead they stay on the other side of the ground, and they've made a blue out of all this. Not sure who's picked that up for Canberra.
I reckon it was Jordan Harper, and he's passed it off there to Harry Carr.
Well, I hadn't seen... Well, of course, Harper...
We haven't seen Jordan Harper.
It's only his second
first
game.
Match back in Canberra.
Yeah, played in the game in Darwin last week, so only his second game since returning to the Canberra Demons. But what's Harry Carr got?
Pretty accurate kick normally, Chris.
And he does also have the ability to kick it long. The matte black boots. And Harry Carr drills through it with the right foot. Looks pretty good. The umpire agrees. The goal umpire comes up, gives it both barrels, and the Canberra Demons retake the lead. They're kicking straight this afternoon, E2 113 to Sydney Uni 139.
And they've been able to create a couple of shots from about that range, 40 out directly in front, with some clever short kicks. They've gone inboard, they've lowered the eyes, they've found an option in a good spot, and Harry Carr able to get on the board. You mentioned the Brisbane Lions juggernaut, Chris. It continues to roll on at South Pine Sports Complex, nearly quarter time up there. Brisbane 7-5-47 lead the Sydney Swans 1-1-7.
Ouch.
So Brisbane already out to a 40-point lead. In the other match up at Giants Stadium, in the final quarter, 10 minutes played, the Giants 9-15-69 lead the Gold Coast 6-5-41. Inaccurate kicking by the Giants, just giving the Gold Coast a little bit of a stiff, but the Giants should hold on there.
Of course, the Giants sitting on 12 competition points with Sydney Uni and the Canberra Demons. The Sydney Swans are up to 24. So those results, well, one of those results will help both of these sides this afternoon, as the ball being contested after the bounce about 5 metres inside the edge of the centre square.
So a funny first quarter here at the Phillip Oval. We've gone 26.5 minutes and we've seen only 3 goals kicked. The Demons 2-1-13 lead Sydney Uni 1-3-9. A lot of stoppages. We'll get another one here inside the centre square. Angus Baker is the leading possession winner on the ground with 8. The inside 50s have evened up a bit. Sydney Uni have 10. Canberra Demons have 9. Tagliabue knocks it down. And here's an opportunity again for the students. Highmore did well. Couldn't hold on to the mark. Davies is at the back. Gathers. His high hand pass was partly chopped off there by Moline. And in the end, we'll get another ball up inside 50 for Sydney Uni. We wouldn't expect the quarter to go that long with such a lack of scoring so far, although, as we say, we have seen plenty of stoppages. Tagliabue takes it out of the ruck again. About the third time he's done that. He throws it on the boot, puts it out to the left. So a minor score for Sydney Uni. They're 1-4-10. The Canberra Demons a 2-1-13. Canberra up by 3 points. And it'll be Tom Highmore with the kick-in duties here. He's got Riley Budd making a lead in the pocket. Ignores that. He might head out towards Vardaniger and Paik. Thought about giving the hand pass. In the end, he does go in the Angus Baker and Paik direction. Bruce flew from the back. But in the end, the mark was taken by Ned Reinhard for Sydney Uni. So he kicks it in the Davies direction. Davies gathers. Davies off the left, curls it through.
Nice work.
Oh, no, it just hit the back of the post.
Oh, geez, everything went right until the last fraction of a second.
It's hit the fat padding on the back there. And a centimetre of padding has saved the Canberra Demons as they get it working quickly. A long kick towards Maynard. Bruce at the back had to spoil. Williams got the hand pass out, which came to Sirakoski. He goes inside 50. Budd gets in a good position and knocks it over the boundary line.
Well, if Canberra get up by less than a kick, they can all go around and sit around that post and have a beer for it later on this evening, because that was truly bizarre.
Is that standard issue padding?
It actually looks a bit skinny compared to what I've seen in some other venues over the course of the season. Ball comes back into play. Maynard in the ruck for Canberra gets the best punch on it, but doesn't go terribly far. Baker grabs it out of the air, turns around, pops it around to a teammate, that might be Evans, as they send the ball up the wing. Getting underneath it there is Robertson, and Robertson turns it back into attack for the Sydney side. Comes off hands. In underneath is Osborne. Osborne can't do much with it. There's been a kick off the ground. It's rolling and rolling, but, well, it's actually stopped. Oh, it's come off the post. There we go. I was wondering why it had stopped. I had to move around a post in our commentary box of its own. So Canberra, however, decided to play on. Not sure if that was necessarily the right move, the quick restart, because, again, it's Sydney with the ball. Waiting underneath it is Aino for Canberra, but the kick is once again for the Uni side to the hot spot, comes off hands, and this will trickle through for yet another boundary, and I reckon that'll yet another behind rather, and that will tie things up 1-7-13 to 2-1-13.
We see some strange things here at Phillip Oval, Chris,
We've
in
seen
terms
plenty.
of inaccurate goal kicking.
We could talk about that all day, Eddie, because, what was it? That's that Swans game last year.
Yeah, that was bizarre.
Where Sydney couldn't kick a goal for the first three quarters and then kicked a bunch in the last quarter to come from a long way down to win it.
And that could be a factor today, Chris. Sydney Uni coming off the bye, perhaps just a little bit flat. The Demons buoyed by that win, but a trip back from Darwin last week. They may tire as the game goes on.
They may indeed, but they take the ball around the far side of the ground in front of the one advertising hoarding that is occupied here at Footy Park in Phillip with the big Canberra Demons sign. No one really able to get away with the ball, and suddenly we see Canberra bring it up into the middle of the ground. There's plenty of defence. I think that's Veal again for the Sydney University side. Comes off hands to Foster. Foster just puts a clearing kick in. There is nobody within 20 metres of the ball at the moment. It'll bounce 3 or 4 times. There's 4 Canberra Demons players in there. Chasing through hard for it was Robertson. Robertson did enough to slow the momentum of Osborne, but Osborne winds up with the ball and winds up with the free kick just inside the square. Can't be too long left as we get up towards 31 minutes. So Maguire has it. Goes for the short pass onto Evans. Evans turns around, goes for the right foot up in towards the hot spot. You talked about fall in defence earlier. Well, now he's up in the forward line. Couldn't get on there. Bartholomew's tries to clear it away for the Sydney Uni side, and the siren sounds at 31 minutes. And we have a tied game. I can't recall too many times, though, I've seen a tied game at 2-1-13 versus 1-7-13.
A very even quarter, a strange opening quarter in this match. The stats are all pretty even. There's not much in it. Canberra with a bit more of the ball, 92 disposals to 79. The marks, Canberra 19 to 18. Sydney Uni 24 tackles to 20. The only slight quirk in this stat is that the students have not received a single free kick. The Canberra Demons have 5 free kicks to 0. Hit-outs pretty even. In fact, Canberra are in front, so well done by Maynard and Paik. They're up 16 to 13 there. The students have had slightly more clearances and inside 50s, but a pretty even match according to the stats, and an even more even match according to the scoreboard at quarter time. It's 13 apiece. We'll be back in a moment with the second quarter.
The players divide up into their 6-6-6 formations as the rescue helicopter actually makes a landing over at the Canberra Hospital, just disappearing behind the trees on the far side of Phillip Oval, or Football Park, as it used to be called and is now seemingly being called again, which I think is a great little tip back to Canberra football history. We're seeing many a grand final in the old ACTAFL competitions that used to be in the late 80s and early 90s at this ground. But right now it is the Canberra Demons and Sydney Uni locked at 13 points apiece as the second quarter gets underway, and umpire Nick McGuinness to bounce.
So Canberra going to the left of your screen to the northern end in this quarter. Sydney Uni going to the right to the Woden end. Maynard won that hit out. He's done a good job so far today, Josh Maynard, the Ainslie triple premiership player. It came towards Martin. Maguire picked it up, kicks inside 50, over the head of Pollock. He's beaten to the ball there by Barkley, but Barkley was running so fast he ended up taking it over the boundary line, and it'll be thrown in just outside the forward 50 for the Canberra Demons. Scores level as we start this second quarter after a quite unusual opening term. Maynard and Tagliabue to go at it in ruck again. Tagliabue tries to work his way in front. Maynard held him illegally to stop him doing that, and Nick McGuinness pays the free kick to the Sydney University captain, Sam Tagliabue. He's got a couple of options on short. He elects to pop it up very high towards the wing. Tom Falls sitting underneath it. Highmore might have got a push. It comes down to Baker. Gives it to Richardson, who gave it off to Smout. Smout kicks towards Pollock. He had a couple of students to beat. One of them was big Sam Tagliabue, who dived in to take the mark. Thought about handing it back to Veal. A bit hesitant there, Tagliabue. Tries to get around a couple. He's caught by Pollock. Just manages to get some sort of a kick away, but they've turned it over. Richardson's hand pass wasn't a great one. It went to Stern. Stern gave it back to Barkley. Now it comes to Fall. There's Tom Fall's first disposal of the afternoon. To Vardaniga, to Moline. Moline inside 50. Bruce and Paker there. Pake was in front. I think his opponent probably took the mark. He did.
So it'll be, sorry, Eddie, you go.
So again, Sydney, Canberra going forward, but just not able to make the opportunity of that inside 50, and the students will be able to clear the area.
And they do so. Carroll with just a short ball finds a teammate not too far away from him. Might be Fong. So they're just working at trying to keep the ball in possession, but that comes unstuck as the ball comes off hands and trickles over the boundary line for a throw-in. So Canberra, well, it'll be a 50-50 shot for them here. They really haven't capitalised much, but then again, they haven't had the ball inside their forward 50 much so far during the course of this game. 14-10. So Canberra picking up a few in recent moments. Ball comes back into play. Maynard gets a tap to himself. Baker looks to get around underneath it, but I think it may have well have been Hardy who wound up getting onto the ball. Up and under style kick. Chasing underneath it is Sam Martin, and he gets the mark. Now, he is in scoring range, but geez, on such an acute angle. And he's backing himself at this stage. He's setting himself for a shot on goal.
I've liked the way Canberra have created these shots. It's been through short kicks. They haven't bombed it inside 50 to the top of the square because they know they don't have the tall timber there to take the mark. It's been clever short kicks to set up these shots.
Got plenty of pace, this Canberra side. Martin goes for maybe just to try a little bit of check side off the outside of the boot there, but it curves a little bit early. But it does regain the lead for the Canberra Demons. 2-2-14 to Sydney Uni 1-7-13. 3 gone second quarter.
So again, Sydney Uni trying to clear from their defensive 50. Goulden with the kick-in duties. He just kicks it short for Veal. Veal goes back into the pocket. Now the kick is turned over. Looks like Alex Smout has got his hands on the ball, coming fifth in the NEAFL MVP, Alex Smout. He just kicks it long to the top of the square. Powell from the back, knocked it down. Students have the numbers. Goulden got around a couple, just threw it on the boot. Not a great kick. Richardson's underneath it. Couldn't take the mark. It's over the boundary line. And we'll get another throw in inside 50 for Canberra. We've gone more than 3.5 minutes in this second quarter. Canberra 2-2-14 with 1 point lead over Sydney Uni, who are 1-7-13.
Has the ball been in Sydney's half of the field this quarter?
I don't think so, Chris.
Yeah, I don't think it's been past the centre stripe just yet. Ball comes back into play.
Neither ruckman able to get to the ball that time. Goulden tries to grab it, couldn't quite. It comes out there towards Powell. In fact, it was Baker. He was taken high. And Angus Baker will get a shot on goal.
Well, he really put his life on the line there, did Angus Baker. Had no regard for anything other than getting the ball, got down low, got the pill, and I think it was an inadvertent knee into the shoulder or the neck area. It was pretty congested in there, but the umpire picking it out and they're giving him the free, and it's a fairly easy shot on goal on a day like today.
Not a noted goal kicker, Angus Baker. He's had 11 disposals. Coming up for disposal number 12. He goes with the right foot drop punt, and he puts it through, and the Demons are out by 7 points.
Just sneaks it inside the left upright, does Angus Baker. His first, Canberra's third different goal scorer for the Canberra Demons, and they go to 3-2-20 over the Sydney Uni side, 1-7-13. It was a wobbly looking kick on a day. Maybe there's a little bit of breeze, although as I look now, some of those trees are just starting to move a little bit more, so maybe there's a bit more breeze at higher level starting to pick up, Ed.
It'll sound like I'm only saying it in hindsight, but I was watching the Canberra players kicking to that end in their warm-up, and the kicks were going right to left, so if you were sort of aiming right-hand goalpost, it seemed to be the way to go if you're kicking to that northern end. And how impressive is Angus Baker? We know he was one of the Canberra Demons who nominated for the mid-season draft. None of them were picked up, which wasn't a surprise. But if we were to see a Demons player drafted at the end of the year, you'd have to say Angus Baker, probably the man most likely. Williams and Maynard up in ruck. Maynard knocked it down to Maguire. Now it comes out to Richardson, who takes the overhead mark. He's got Vardaninger running alongside him. In the end, he kicks it short towards Maguire, who marks on the wing. Good running there by Mitch Maguire. He's got his two sisters in the crowd today, and he's off to his girlfriend's 21st birthday tonight. So a big day for Mitch Maguire and the family. He chipped it back to Vardaninger, who waits for an option. He's got Highmore short, elects to go longer than that towards Pollock and Paik. Paik through his fingers, Pollock's at the back. He was up against Barkley. Paik tries to keep it in. Umpire said he did keep it in. It comes now to Baker, gives it to Maguire, now Highmore. Highmore goes with a high ball inside 50. Hardy's in the best position. He flies, knocks it down to Pollock, whose kick is smothered and ends up over the boundary line.
Actually, the Canberra side have turned up the intensity just a little bit, playing a little bit more physical footy to start this second quarter, really getting in hard at the contest. I suspect that was probably part of the quarter-time address from their coach, Cade Klemke, who you'd reckon he'd be a bit frustrated at not being out there as a playing coach, Cade Klemke, so I think maybe he wants to see everyone turn it up. Ball in the hands of Tom Fall now, puts it around towards Richardson. Richardson taps it, gets it tapped back towards him. Now coming through is Maynard. Maynard with a short pass, just goes the 15. Only just, but it's Harry Carr bursting through the traffic, and he picks it up and will now look for the express lane to goal. If he can put this through, it'll be the Demons doubling the Sydney Uni score.
He's taller than you think, Harry Carr. We don't think of him as being a tall forward as such, but I think he's more than 190 centimetres, and he does give Canberra that extra target, and he gives them an extra goal, and the Demons have the only 2 goals of this second quarter.
Harry Carr, his second for the afternoon. Usually because you find him up against a bigger man, a bigger player.
192 centimetres tall. We don't think of him as being a key position player, but he's a good overhead mark, he's a good kick, and he's the only multiple goal scorer on the ground today.
4-2-26 for the Demons, 1-7-13 for Sydney Uni, approaching the 8-minute mark in the second quarter here. If Canberra can get another one, it may just be what they need. They really haven't had a chance this year to just put the foot down and go and turn into a free-flowing, free-scoring game, a free-scoring side. But I just get the feeling that they're after a game like that after a few really tight ones across the course of this season.
Back in the middle, Williams and Maynard to go up. Maynard slapped it forward, but the bounce had gone astray from the centre circle. So we'll have a restart. Tom Fall starting in the centre square this time. So we've seen him forward, back and in the middle so far today. And good to see Tom Fall getting his hands on the footy a little bit so far in this second quarter. Maynard and Williams get ready to go at it again as the umpire throws it up. Williams knocks it down. Well done by Adamson to get a hand in. Knocked it to Fall, who gave it back to Smout. Smout kicks towards Martin. It was over his head. Powell couldn't take it. Martin followed up, but the students should be able to get out of trouble here with a chain of hand passes that end up with Stewart. He gives it off now to Fong. Fong has a bounce. He kicks inside 50 to a pretty open forward line. Looks like that's Morrison. He's got 3 Demons there for company. He's tackled by Highmore. Has to give it back now to Banuelos, who kicks inside 50. Couldn't find a target on the full, but it'll come out there to Cordell, who puts it away to the right. So another behind for Sydney Uni. 1-8-14 Canberra 4-2-26.
I'm going to dig out that Sydney Swans game scoreboard from last year at halftime, Eddie, and see how it compares, because from memory the Swans were 110-16 at one stage of that game before coming back to win. The ball back into play comes off the hands of Banuelos, but it's the All Demons at the moment. Richardson picks it up off the ground and goes for a little bit of a sprint, gets the ball into the only two players who could take it in that forward half of the field, and it winds up with Bruce. Now he's got a couple of teammates running on. One of them is Sam Martin. He waits for it to bounce in front of him. Can he pick it up? It stays in play. It goes out of play. And Eddie, you've dug it out for us.
Round 19 last year, we were here at Phillip Oval for the Demons versus the Sydney Swans. At halftime, Sydney was 2-10-22. At three-quarter time, they were 3-12-30. Trailing by 23 points. They went on to win with a score of 9-14-68.
Yeah, they came home with the proverbial wet sail. It wasn't a wet day, it wasn't a windy day or anything. It was just a funny old game of football. Ball in the hands now of Powell for the Demons, puts it all goalwards for them, but there's too many Sydney Uni players there. But the kick is less than spectacular, shall we say. It took a right turn at Albuquerque and wound up over the boundary line, so it'll be a free for the Demons. Man who's back on the field, having had a bit of a rest, is Angus Baker, but he decides he's going to be of better use inside the forward 50 and gives it to Nick Ano to kick back into play. He's about 70 from goal, goes for the left footer in towards the hot spot. There's plenty of people waiting for it. It comes off hands, and once again it's the Sydney side who get the best of it, but diving in underneath it, there he is. Angus Baker gets the mark. And I reckon he might just fancy his chances here. He'll be taking a shot from just outside 50 on about a 45-degree angle. Aim it at the right goalpost, Eddie?
I reckon he was one of Canberra's best players last season, but you feel like he's taken an even bigger step this year, Angus Baker. Already 12 disposals today. That's 3 more than the next best, and here he is lining up for goal number 2.
Man on the mark is moving around all over the place to try and put him off, and it may have done that too as Bartholomew's was moving all over the place, but the ball, well, it was aimed at the right goalpost. It moved just in a little bit, but came off hands and through for another point. The quick restart comes unstuck for Sydney Uni. And it'll be the Canberra Demons bringing it back towards goal via Alex Smout. And
well, turnovers are a killer, and especially on the kick out, especially when you go straight up the middle. You want to make sure you hit a target. You don't want to kick it to Alex Smout, who's been one of the Demons' best this season as well.
Now, have I given a point there? The scoreboard hasn't given the point there. That's what's confused me. We'll just wait for Smout to go goalward, and he does so. So he gets his first. Canberra get their 5th of the game, their 3rd of the quarter, and they do start to open up a bit of a margin here over Sydney University. And by my book, I've got 5-2-32 for the Demons. Sydney Uni 1-8-14.
There we go. Now the scoreboard has given them.
Now it's 5-3-33. Okay. Oh, yeah, they've kicked 2 points this quarter. Yes. Yeah, that would make sense. All right, so 5-3-33 to 1-8-14.
I'm glad we're all on the same page. At least we can see the scoreboard today, which is helpful. The Demons have made a really fast start in this quarter. 3 goals to none, just 1 behind so far for Sydney Uni. And yeah, taking a bit of momentum perhaps from their win last week over the NT Thunder, getting away on that road trip. I think they enjoy playing up there in Darwin. They were very keen to be out here today for Aaron Bruce's 150th, and a real buzz around the Canberra Demons in this second quarter. As we're ready in the middle with Tagliabue going up in ruck against Alex Paik. Tagliabue won it down pretty decisively, but the Demons get it going forward. Ball took an unkind bounce as far as Canberra was concerned, but it ends up with Bruce. He's tackled, dispossessed. Maguire tried to follow up, but the students have the numbers around this contest. They get it forward of the wing where Canberra have the numbers. Here's Cal Evans calling for the ball, takes a mark under pressure from a couple of Demons. Well done, Cal Evans. He looks towards the wing and sees Jack Powell. Kick didn't really favour him, but Riley Budd comes in to lend a bit of support. He picks up the ball, gives it off to Powell, who gives it back to Evans, now to Maguire. Maguire arches the back, he's tackled. I don't think he got a disposal away. That's holding the ball.
It is indeed. You get the feeling that Canberra have really drawn a line in the sand, and they said they want to try and stop Sydney from getting the ball anywhere into attacking territory, because they've done a superb job of it so far. Sydney, they're yet to find a way to really get it over their half-forward line. They go for the short ball in towards the middle of the ground, and that's Jake Bartholomew's. Still in his own half of the ground. Umpire telling him to play on. So he does. Goes for the longish bomb. It'll still be outside their forward 50. No one really able to get a handle on it. It comes to Cameron Williams off the ground. He then gives it over to Nick Foster. Foster's hand pass is tapped out over the boundary line, and it'll be a throw-in still just outside the attacking 50 for the Sydney Uni side in front of the new cricket centre here at Phillip Oval. And Wallace coming in to get himself involved in the play. Look for him to be the target of the tap down from Tagliabue, but instead Tagliabue taps it forward where, it's all really blue and yellow, and it winds up with Paik. Paik then threw a couple of hands, and we signed it with Maguire. Very hard to go wrong with him. Baker moaned down in his prime, but Harper gets a kick away off the ground. Was looking towards Pollock. It didn't quite get to him. Off the ground through Harper again, who'd followed the play up, and now it's the Canberra side. They're on the burst. I think that might be Martin. He goes for a run, goes for a bounce inside the forward 50. He goes for the running goal, and he gets it. End-to-end stuff from the Demons.
Well, they have brought enormous energy in this second quarter here, Canberra. Even there where we saw some disposals that weren't as good as they would have liked from Maguire and Harper, they followed up well. They kept getting the ball forward, and what a finish there by Sam Martin.
Can't recall, and maybe you can remember one, Eddie, but I can't recall the last time I saw a Canberra Demons player pick the ball up somewhere near the centre circle and go for the classic run, bounce, run, inside 50, take a shot. I just can't recall a free-flowing goal like that from a solo effort.
You'll recall in round one, Tom Fall picked the ball up about basically at the defensive 50 and ran all the way.
Yeah, he came all the way around the outside. This was your classic Rover ball, wasn't it? Just picked it up out of the middle and go for a run and a bounce and a shot. Great Aussie rules skills. Back in the middle now with umpire Sam Herford, and he puts it down. Good bounce. Still in the centre circle with 3 or 4 players having got a touch on it, and we might actually wind up with a secondary ball up in the centre circle. Oh no, he's found a free kick in there, so I'm not sure who was at the bottom.
It'll go there to Harper.
And Harper winds up with the kick, puts the ball inside the forward 50. Underneath it was Pollock, couldn't do anything. As bursting through the bottom of the pack there is Stewart for the Sydney Uni students. Barkley was involved as well. But Sydney, well, they're really struggling at the moment, and they can't do anything. There's just too much pressure on the football from the Canberra Demons.
And Jordan Harper seems to have really added something. Just his second game back with the Canberra Demons, a former co-captain. Last season went down to Victoria to play in the VFL with North Melbourne and decided midway through or in the early part of this season that it was time to come back, to be closer to family and to rejoin the Canberra Demons. And he seems to have added something to the side over the past couple of weeks. The Demons are up by 25 points, which is not something we've said at all recently. I don't
think we've said it so far this year.
In fact, we very rarely have called Canberra Demons wins at home. Their only win at home in recent times was when they played at Ainslie rather than at their official home ground here at Football Park in Phillip, a ground where they are still yet to win a match. They'll be hoping to break that duck today. Students trying to spoil Aaron Bruce's party. They kick the ball out of defence. Not with any great direction, but they'll be able to retain the football here, Sydney Union. Stewart takes a mark off halfback. Decided to get things moving on very quickly. Now the kick will come towards half forward. Baker coming back, takes the mark. He's everywhere today, Angus Baker. This will be disposal number 14. He just kicks it short for Bud, who takes the mark. And Canberra will just slow things down and absorb a bit of the Sydney Uni pressure. Bud has got Martin calling for it wide. Elects to go back to Vardaniga. Now it will come out to Martin, who takes the mark. Still in the back pocket. He's got Paik on the lead out towards the boundary line. Decides to go shorter than that to Baker. Through his fingers.
He got nudged.
Baker will get a free kick. So here comes disposal number. He'll be getting up towards 15 now here, Angus Baker. And he's having an absolute blinder of a game so far. He's got Maguire on short, who's been busy in this second quarter as well. Takes the mark. Goes quick to Vardaniga. Overcooked the ball, though, and he's turned it over. Sirakowski now has the footy. That's Andrew Sirakowski. Will was a late omission before this afternoon's game. Sirakowski thought about the hand pass. In the end, he decides to just pop it up to the top of the square. Canberra with numbers.
Well, 2 on none.
And Aino floated in to take the mark.
He goes around the far side of the ground. And now Canberra, they've got players here. The whole fleet's moving up. As we see Moline. And he puts the ball into the path of, I reckon that might be Evans over on the far side of the ground. They go further forward now. Waiting underneath it there was Harry Carr. He'd got himself into space. He's run into the pocket, but he's got the mark.
And it was Hardy with that nice pass. He was able to run on the ball, and a little bit like what you said about Sam Martin. Just take that bounce, get it going forward. And again, that mid-distance kick to a player in space. And Harry Carr, he goes with a mid-distance kick as well. And it'll be Highmore to take a shot on goal.
Can we get Evans or Hardy, can we start a crowdfunding for one of them to get some serious tat work done or something? I know that they've Kel Evans has had the haircut, so it doesn't look quite as similar, but geez, body shape and everything, they're still very, very hard to pick apart from 130 metres away. Highmore, he hasn't got his name into the scorebook this afternoon, but he fancies his chances from here. He's going to go for the long bomb. Will be supported a bit by the wind as he kicks from 55. It's hanging in the breeze, and drifts across the face of goal, and the mark's been taken between the goal post and the behind post by Alex Paik. We don't see a lot of him as a key forward, although we're starting to see it in an increasing role, and Paik, if he can kick this one, he'll be very, very happy because the umpire's putting him around somewhere near the scissor lift that's got the behind the goal camera on it.
They've got a lot of players who can play at both ends of the ground, and Alex Paik's one of them.
Paik goes for the check side kick. It starts off in front of the post, and then it takes the left turn, and isn't he happy with himself? And so he should be. He gets his first, and the Canberra Demons 7th, and the floodgates have opened. 7-3-45 for the Demons. Sydney Uni 1-8-14.
He enjoyed that one, Alex Paik, and fair enough too. It's only 2 extra scoring shots that the Demons have. They've just been so more accurate. 7-3 playing 1-8, and Paik looks like he's heading to the goal square. I think he's pretty keen to spend this afternoon in the forward line.
Well, you don't get to see that in modern footy. Someone just go and plant themselves in the goal square as the classic full forward.
With the 6-6-6 and the compulsory
someone has
player
to
in
start
the goal
there.
Square.
Yeah, someone's got to put their hand up for it. Who's at the other end for Canberra? Out of curiosity,
it'd be Tristan Davies, I reckon. At full forward for Sydney Uni, and
Spina is up against him at fullback. There we go. So why wouldn't you? Here we go. I don't know whether you heard that creep through on the effects, Mike. I certainly heard that. That's Cade Klemke coming down saying we've still got heaps to go. So he knows that the job is not done here. Ball back in play in the middle of the ground, and it is the Sydney Uni side getting the best of it, but only about 10 metres out of the circle. And the umpire, this time it's Nick McGuinness, who'll come in for another ball up to try and relieve the congestion. Edge of the centre square, outer side of Footy Park in Phillip. Ball bouncing and bouncing. Players, no one's really able to get a clear possession of it. Tunnel ball winds up at the feet of a Demons player. He overruns it, and now we see it finally come clear. So who can get advantage on it? Look at this flashing through. It was, who was it? It was Richardson coming through there. But Canberra have coughed it up. Veal gets a little hand pass, turns it back to a teammate running behind him. I think it might be Barkley who had it. No, it wasn't Barkley. It was actually Robertson. Robertson put the ball into contested area, and Robertson winds up coming back to chase his own ball over the boundary line. Throw in, centre wing position, grandstand side of Footy Park in Phillip. 22 minutes gone. And the umpire back into the field of play with the ball once again. Won by the Uni students, but it rolls straight back to the boundary line. This one will be a throw in, and this is about as close as you can get to centre wing. That dugout is right on the true centre wing position, so we're a metre into Sydney Uni territory. Back into play once again. Maynard gets the tap, but there's too many players and not enough football at the moment, and the secondary ball up will take place despite Bailey Stewart's best efforts to get the ball out there for the Sydney Uni side. No one wins it from that one. Kicked in from Veal back into the bottom of the pack. Over the top is Stewart for Sydney Uni. Not sure who wound up with it underneath the pack. Might have been Crockmall. It was Monty Crockmall. He couldn't get away with it. Taken again by Jake Veal. Veal slung to the ground in the tackle. Didn't have an opportunity to get rid of the ball, says the umpire. So we'll get another ball up. Game just slowing down at this 23-minute mark here in the second quarter. The ruckman getting very physical with each other. Canberra get the best of it with a rushed hand pass from underneath the pile. And now can they do anything with it? Well, Pollock tried to, but somehow lost possession of the ball. It wound up in the arms of Carroll and then over the boundary line for yet another throw in, this one in front of the Canberra bench.
Cade Klemke will be really happy with his team's pressure in this second quarter. Good play there by Reece Pollock. A great spoil a couple of moments ago by Tom Highmore. The ball's thrown back in. Maynard and Tagliabue. In fact, it was Williams. Williams knocked it down for the students. The kick comes to the wing. Underneath it was Banuelos, who couldn't hold on. He might be able to follow up in the end. Harper makes sure the ball goes over the boundary line. And we'll have another throw in here on our broadcast wing as Canberra holding a 31-point lead, time on in the second quarter. An important match for them. They're 3-4. You don't want to be 3-5 at this stage of the season. They've got a tough match next week away against Southport. And you can see a very determined effort so far by Canberra. Great smother there by Powell on Williams, and Powell followed up. So did Williams, who laid a strong tackle. And we'll get in fact, it's a free kick here. So an illegal tackle there by Williams, and Powell will take the free kick. I guess you're always rewarded when you go for the ball. You put your head over the ball and you force your opponent to perhaps infringe. And Powell kicks into the pocket. Bruce flew. In the end, he went the spoil. There's another free kick here. It's Canberra's way. It's play on to advantage, and Cal Evans has mucked it up. He's dribbled it away to the left.
Had time to run on there, did Evans. But when you're up by 5 goals, I don't think you're going to mind too much, although Cade Klemke would have probably preferred him to take another couple of steps and really make certain of it. Ball back in play again in the Sydney Uni side. They've added 1 point this whole quarter already. I can't recall the last time I saw a Sydney Uni side struggle to score so much, but they've still got time to add to their ledger. It's 25 minutes now as Stewart puts a little hand pass over on the outside. He got it on towards Sierakowski. They keep it moving forward, chasing through. I think it might be Banwellos. He's been driven into the turf by Fall. Ball is still free, and it's coming away once again. Canberra's side of the equation. Richardson puts the ball forward. He gets it on to Hardy. Hardy loses possession, but there's plenty of teammates there to clean up. And they're just taking their time now, Canberra, getting a couple more players forward. Calling for it was Richardson in the middle of the ground. But instead, slightly further forward from Richardson. I think that might be Martin who's got it. He's almost gone back to where the kick to him came from. So Canberra just working the ball around and around in circles at the moment. Highmore has it. Now he goes back to the same spot. It's almost like a kicking drill at training, this. They've gone 3 kicks, and I reckon they've advanced the ball 4 metres by the time players have come back behind the mark. They won't worry too much. They're 5 goals clear of the Sydney Uni side. They put the ball into attack. Target was Hardy, but it's been taken by the Uni students, and they'll work it around towards centre half back. Underneath it is Carroll. Carroll can't do anything with it. Charging out was Bruce. He couldn't hang on to the pill, and it falls into the path of Carroll. Carroll puts the ball in towards centre half forward. Could have been a little bit more effort there from the Sydney Uni player up forward, because it's rebounded straight away, and it's now with the Demons, and that's through Pollock. Pollock putting the ball in towards full forward. Where's Pake? Pake, he looked for it. He got dragged away from it. He was asking for the free kick, but he doesn't get the free kick for that, but it's been called a deliberate out of bounds. So Pake being the nearest man to it, well, he's already put one through from here today. He'll fancy his chances here.
He's not going to pass it off. We can guarantee that. Alex Pake kicked that goal pretty much from the identical position. Perhaps he even kicked it from a slightly tighter angle. He'll back himself here.
Well, he went for the check side. He judged it perfectly before. Comes through. Identical kick. Identical result.
And he's just as happy about it as he was before. 2 goals for Alex Pake. And the Demons are now out by 6 goals as we approach half-time.
Alex Pake, his second for the afternoon. And the Demons on to 8-4-52. Sydney Uni 1-8-14. Canberra have had a couple of results go against them here at this ground during the course of this season. As we mentioned at the start of the game, their percentage was down in the low 80s. Sydney was up in the high teens over the 100. So this is really, I think, part of what Cade Klemke will be saying to his side is there's a chance here. We've got to keep the foot on the pedal. We've just got to keep on going. Turn things around, because to go in at 4-4 with the percentage up around the 90 mark, that's a pretty good place to be approaching the midpoint of the NEAFL season.
And Canberra starting to really get on top in terms of possession. They've controlled the play in this second quarter. They have 180 disposals to 128 so far in the match, 44 marks to 28 as well. They've also laid more tackles despite having more of the ball, so that shows how strong their pressure has been in this second term. Powell hands it back to Bruce. Bruce knocks it free, but he did it illegally. It's holding the ball, a free kick against the Canberra captain, Aaron Bruce, and an opportunity for the students to just perhaps slow things down a little as we get closer to halftime. Williams is off and running, goes with a low ball into the middle of the ground to Bartholomew, who flips it out to the wing. So perhaps a chance for the students to get a late score to try and just trim this margin before the main break. They'll come inside 50 here. It's out to the top of the goal square. Spina coming back with the flight, couldn't affect the spoil. And the students will get a shot on goal.
Is it Banwellos? It is.
So Tom Banuelos, who's had a bit of the ball in this second quarter, he'll be looking to try and kick the Students' first goal of the term. They have only, so far in this quarter, kicked one behind.
It's 29 minutes, ticks up on the clock. Banuelos did well, sat behind the pack and just waited for the ball to come to him.
Tom Banuelos off the right boot. Puts it through, a desperately needed goal for Sydney Uni. They get one back just before the break.
Well, he's kicked precisely half their goals this afternoon. That's their second for the day. Sydney 2-8-20, Canberra 8-4-52, 29 and a half gone. In the second quarter, the long break not too far away. Osborne coming back onto the field. Taking a break now is Evans. He's being replaced by Guy Richardson. We're seeing Tagliabue is coming back on for Sydney. He's going to try and get... No, I was going to say...
He's going to go forward.
Is he going to try and get out there and get to the ruck contest because he's racing against time there because, well, Sam Nipris, the umpire, moving faster than Harry Kane for his beloved Tottenham Hotspur, who play in the Champions League tomorrow. And there he goes, the ball up from umpire Sam Nipris, and it goes Canberra's way. There's no one really able to get there. Sydney Uni have the ball, dragged off it, but the umpire come in and have another crack at it for a supplementary ball up. Slightly Canberra's way. Comes off the hands, a couple of hands there of Martin eventually getting through to it. Now chasing it through was Robertson for Uni, but it bounces back towards Bruce. Bruce turns around, he puts it towards Adamson. Adamson has it, snaps towards goal, but I think that's gone well away to the right. Has indeed out of bounds on the full, and it'll be the Uni side to bring the ball back in as we get close to 31 minutes in the second term.
It'll be Ned Reinhard. In fact, it won't be. One of his teammates will come in. No, it will go to Reinhard in the end, who will take the free kick in the back pocket. Can't be long to go in this second term. We've gone more than 30 minutes and 40 seconds. Reinhard just drives the ball out of defence, kicks it towards Williams, who's got a couple of demons to beat. It spills out to the back, kept in play, comes off to Bruce. He goes with a high hand pass from Maguire, who just knocks it on towards Harper, who gathers. He's tackled there, Jordan Harper. The umpire calls play on. In the end, we'll get a ball up.
Well, he was tackled and then dispossessed, so umpire doing the right thing, calling play on and letting it go for a moment to see if Uni could get any advantage from having dispossessed Harper.
Thrown up, knocked down Sydney Uni's way. No clear possession winner there. We'll get another ball up inside 50 for Canberra. They'll be pretty happy to lock the ball in as we approach half-time. But if the Students can slingshot it out of defence here, they might be a chance of scoring again before the break. Plenty of hands on the ball here. It's hacked forward Canberra's way. Harry Carr lets it bounce through. And I reckon that's Jordan Harper, who might have just kicked his first goal back in Canberra Demons colours.
Well,
in fact... No, I reckon it's Jack Adamson. It is. It's Jack Adamson in his second game for the Demons, and he's kicked his first goal for the club, and that's why they all got around him there. And the Demons are back out by 38 points.
It had to be one of the players who we haven't had a chance to see a lot of. In fact, I don't recall seeing Harper. Well, I know I haven't seen Harper for a couple of years, and I don't. And as you said, Adamson, it's only his second game for the club. So,
and both of them were back in the side last week in Darwin. So their first game back at home. Jack Adamson, a Giants Academy product, and there it is, his first goal with the Canberra Demons.
And we've done better than the Champion Data crew, who've given it as a rushed goal. So I don't think I've ever seen a rushed goal.
It was pretty rushed,
It was
Chris.
pretty rushed, and you've done well to actually keep an eye on the right boots there to pick it up as a goal scorer already. But now it's Sydney Uni. Well, they've only scored one goal this quarter. They might have time to get a second one. Target downfield for them is Morrison. Comes off the hands, chasing it through his Bud for Canberra. Puts a little hand pass into the path there of Cordell from the Students, but the siren sounds at 32-52. And it is a 38-point lead to the home side at half-time. They won't be taking anything for granted at the moment either. They'll be feeling pretty good with a 9-4-58 to 2-8-20 lead.
A 7-goal quarter to the Canberra Demons. One of the best quarters of footy we've seen them play in the past couple of seasons. It's all been led by Angus Baker. 16 disposals, 3 tackles, 3 clearances, and a goal for Angus Baker at half-time. Jack Bartholomew's is the leading disposal winner for Sydney Uni with 12. Alex Paik and Harry Carr have 2 goals each for Canberra, with singles to Alex Smout, Angus Baker, Sam Martin, Reece Pollock and Jack Adamson just before half-time. Tom Banuelos and Jack Hiscox are the only goal scorers for Sydney Uni.
It's been a very, very good display from the Canberra Demons. They're a side that, look, as we know, they they're like most of the NEAFL sides here that aren't affiliated. There's not a lot of full-time players in this club. They've got to hold down jobs and do other things. But as the season progresses, they're going to get better and better, and the combinations are really starting to work now. And you can see them coming off as a pack there. And they'll be very happy with how things sit at the moment, but they need to finish the job this afternoon, because that's something we have seen from them in the past as well, is some second half and particularly final quarter fade-outs. But right now they have a very, very healthy lead. They lead by 38 points, 58-20, at the long break here on Saturday afternoon, NEAFL TV.
Well, the Canberra Demons go into the second half holding a 38-point lead over Sydney Uni. The Demons off the back of a trip to the tropics. Sydney Uni coming off the bye. Can the students with some fresh legs try to whittle down this 38-point lead? We'll find out over the next hour or so. We're back in the middle. The Demons going to the right of your screen in this third quarter. Goulden cleared the area there for the students, and they get the opening clearance and the opening inside 50 of the match. And Davies marks on the lead, and Tristan Davies, who'd been pretty quiet in the first half, will have an opportunity to try and kick the students' third goal. In fact, he thought about playing on. He goes with a hurried kick that ends up out of bounds on the full. A bizarre piece of play there from Tristan Davies. He's someone they need the ball in the hands of in this second half. Just 2 disposals and 1 behind for him in the first half. They need Tristan Davies to get the ball and get on the scoreboard. They don't need him to be putting it out on the full. The Demons work it towards half-back. It will come back, though, through Veal. A hurried kick that just bounces its way towards full forward. Banuelos shrugs the tackle and kicks the goal.
Well, that's what the Sydney Uni side needed to get this third quarter started.
2 goals for Tom Banuelos and the perfect start for Sydney Uni in this second half.
Of course, they'll need a few more than that.
And a little bit of how you're going there at full forward.
Yeah, a little bit of getting reacquainted with each other down there. Still continuing. Ball coming back towards the middle of the ground. We'll stay. Oh, there, that's petering away to nothing now in there. Who's that? Matt Vardaniga trying to have the last word in there. Ball comes back in towards the middle, but Canberra won't worry about 1 goal from Sydney Uni. If they get 2 or 3 in a row, though, you can imagine the Cade Klemke won't be terribly thrilled down there on the coach's bench. But that's taken, about 90 seconds of playing time, or probably less than that, 60 seconds of playing time for Sydney Uni to pull one back. The ball back in the middle of the ground. Umpire Nick McGuinness goes for the bounce. Tapped away by Uni, but there's plenty of Canberra players on the run with it, and they come back into attack once again. It's a good diving mark taken in there by Martin, and Martin looks for options. Goes around on the outside. Omnipresent Mitch Maguire. Pretty wobbly old kick off the outside of the boot. I don't think it was quite where he intended to get it. I thought it's gone out of the boundary line. It has. One of the boundary umpires gives us the whistle. And we'll get a throw in about 2 metres outside the attacking 50 for the Canberra side. Coming to the back of a 7-goal quarter. They'll be looking to keep that momentum going. Winds up on the chest of Smout. Gets it away through hands. Vardaniga is involved in some push and shove at the other end. Puts the ball in towards centre half forward. It's tapped down into the path of Harper. Harper can't do anything with it. It comes away to Sydney Uni's advantage to Cordell. Cordell picks it up on the run. Puts it inside forward 50. There's only 2 players down there. So we'll wait and see which one of them can wind up with it. Spina had the best of it, but it winds up with the Sydney Uni side, and they've got 2 in a row. They've gone end to end in next to no time, and it's Darcy Cordell, the man who did all the work in the middle of the ground, followed the ball up, and he gets his first, Sydney Uni's 4th. And they move on to 4-8-32.
They are fired up in this second half, Sydney Uni. Would love to be a fly on the wall to hear what Coach Tom Morrison had to say in the rooms at half-time, because they have come out full of energy, and they've been isolating Tristan Davies there in the forward line. He didn't take the mark on that occasion, but was able to bring it to ground. And there we see Darcy Cordell getting the 2nd goal in a row for Sydney Uni, and that margin now at 26 points is looking a lot more manageable.
Well, every comeback starts with a single score, and the Sydney Uni, they've got the first 2 goals of this quarter. Canberra, well, they're yet to add to the scoring ledger. Ball goes away in their favour again. Tapping it forward is Baker, who had plenty of possessions in the first half. Comes back in, tries to get another go at it. But again, Sydney at the fall of the ball in numbers, and it was Lewis Stevenson who managed to get the ball away. Might come back to him yet through the middle of the park. No, it goes around instead off the hands of Fong. Going the wrong way for Sydney at the moment. Now, there's plenty of players in over the top of it. Not sure who it was for Canberra who got the ball away. Dispossessed. Play on, says the umpire, and Fong comes in with the hand pass. Actually, he doesn't. He continues to run through further forward and put the ball long into attack once again. Waiting underneath it was Davies. Davies let the ball bounce, and it's gone to the Demons. But no chance to get rid of the ball, and the umpire will come in, and Sam Nipris will ball it up about 25 out from the Sydney Uni goal.
So the Demons' defence working overtime through the first 4.5 minutes of this quarter. Tagliabue won the hit out down. It's slapped away by Tom Fall all the way to centre half back. Powell couldn't quite take it. player appealed for a free kick, nothing doing. The hand pass comes to Powell, who gives it over the top. And now the Demons are off and running through Martin, who goes inside 50. Only Paik up against his opponent there in Carroll. Paik and Carroll. Carroll does well. He gathers, he runs away from Paik, and he kicks to a man on his own in Cordell, who's been busy so far in this third quarter. He's got plenty of space. He goes for a run. He kicks inside 50. Demons with numbers. Matt Vardaniga takes the mark. Good pressure as well from Fall. Vardaniga chips it short to Smout. Smout kicks to Richardson, who marks near the boundary line. He's got Bud running alongside him, looking to go inboard. Thought about a short kick to Maguire. In the end, he's probably going to have to just turn around and kick it back to Tom Fall, who takes the mark. Riley Budd's calling for the ball near the boundary line. Vardaniga short as well. Fall just throws it on the boot. Kicks towards Aino. Tagliabue drifts in. No one could take the mark. At the back, Barkley happy to take it over the boundary line. And we'll get a boundary throw in just forward of the wing for the Canberra Demons, who are under the pump in this third quarter. They kicked 7 goals to 1 in the second term, but the Students with the only 2 goals so far in the third term. Tagliabue started in front of Maynard, and he knocks it forward for Stewart to run onto. He got the ball moving forward there towards Foster, who couldn't take it. Evans ends up with the footy for Canberra. His hand pass was to no one in particular, but Baker just stole it from Bailey Stewart's hands. Hiscox gets a boot in, soccers it towards half forward. Good tackle, Tom Fall on Morrison. Dispossesses him. Fall follows up. The umpire will come in, and we will have a ball up.
Certainly a very willing game of football. Been watching Angus Baker. A couple of times he's been getting himself in space up a little bit up the field, but no one's been able to get the ball to him. Very dangerous man for today, and there he is on the receiving end of the tap down, but taps it back into in towards the contest. Now it comes through Stewart for Sydney Uni, puts them back into attack once again. It's bowled a couple of them, and it winds up short hand pass across to Hiscox. Hiscox can't get his kick away. Umpire blows the whistle, and it's a free kick going to Canberra for I think he may have
hold.
Yeah, he may have found a hold in there, the umpire, and now Canberra, they're going to bring it back around the grandstand side. It comes up towards Maguire. Doesn't wind up with him, though. Instead, it winds up with Kel Evans. Now it's on to Maguire. Maguire turns around, puts the ball further forward. Oh, well read. Comes off the hands now to Paik. He got it courtesy of Richardson. Paik puts the ball in towards centre forward. There's nobody home for Canberra. And it's Hiscox who's dropped all the way back down the ground. Gives it across to Fong, and Fong with the right foot into the centre square with Veal. Veal then gives it across to Goulden, and Goulden has a teammate who is run down in his prime. The big gesture comes from umpire Sam Herford, and it'll be Canberra to bring it back through. Well, that man, Baker, can we just check that there's only one of him out there on the field, because he's been absolutely everywhere across the course of the day.
They had 2 Bakers on the list last year. Just Angus Baker this season, but he's playing about as well as 2 people.
Well, he is, and he's got more than a Baker's dozen worth of possessions. Canberra trying to get through the through the grip of the tackle. The umpire has said, no, I can't let you get that one, because, well, you had plenty of chances to get rid of it, and it'll be a free kick to Barkley from the Sydney Uni side. Works it around the other side of the ground, the far reaches of Phillip Oval, and it's with Veal once again. He goes for the high ball. Pack flies, and no one really able to take a mark. We'll wait and see if it can come free. It can't. The umpire clutches his hands to his chest and whistles and says we'll have a ball up in front of the Canberra Demons advertising hoarding on the outer side of the ground. Ball coming out to the Demons, to the Uni advantage, to Bartholomew's, and he loses his footing, goes to ground once again, and it'll be another ball up, so we've only gone a few metres. It's been the story of this game, hasn't it, Eddie? We get a few minutes of really free-flowing stuff, and then we get a few minutes of really congested stuff. There's no in-between this afternoon.
Yeah, the Demons have certainly tightened up after giving away the first couple of goals of this quarter. Paik's in a good position. The ball goes over him. Running onto it there. Looks like it might be Harry Carr, who off the outside of the boot. A clever kick for Evans to run onto, and Evans snaps the goal. In fact, I reckon that's Sam Martin who might have kicked the goal.
I'm with you.
So Sam Martin with 2 goals on the afternoon, and there's a steadying goal for Canberra. They move up to 10-4, 64. Sydney Uni, 4-8, 32.
I'd say a much needed goal.
But it just relieves a bit of pressure and it just stops the momentum that the students had probably through the first 5 minutes of the quarter. And then, as we say, Canberra was able to tighten up, increase the pressure, and then get that goal, which hurt Sydney Uni because they had all the momentum. And now that margin back out to 32 points.
Well, Canberra would be still very warm favourites here, but we have seen them...
We've seen them overrun.
Yeah, we have seen them overrun on a couple of occasions. And Sydney Uni will be well and truly aware of that. And as you said, Sydney are coming off the bye. Canberra coming off the long trip to Darwin. They had to play in some warm conditions last week. So they may well tire. But at this stage, Canberra doing the best, and Powell tries to get the ball away from the centre circle, but it only goes as far as Sydney Uni. We're a little tap through to Goulden. Goulden then sends them into attack once again. Boundary line may win the race here. Budd was trying to get to the ball for Canberra. Ben Wellis was doing his best for Sydney Uni, but it is in the hands of the umpire. And it'll be tossed back in just outside the attacking 50 for the Sydney Uni side. 11 minutes gone in the third term. And Pate gets the best of it in the ruck. Underneath it, I reckon there might be Crockmull in there with the ball clutched to his chest. It was, and the umpire will come in for another restart. A few metres in for the boundary line. Pate continues in the ruck, but it goes Sydney Uni's way. Underneath it is Smout. He puts the ball high in the air. Umpire says not 15. Play on, play on. It comes off the hands of the pack, and no one really able to get control. As we see it spearing in towards the Canberra dugout, and it'll be a boundary throw-in to take place there, despite the best efforts of Sam Fong. And we're on once again. It's Paik versus Williams. Paik actually punches it down onto the head of Williams before it rebounds towards the boot of Guy Richardson. Richardson puts his side into attack, but only as far as Carroll for the Sydney Uni. So he has it. Decides they're going to switch the play around now. Goes to Hiscox. Actually, it's not Hiscox, it's Reinhard. Very similar boots for him, and they come back around. Now it winds up with Hiscox at centre half back. They're going over to the far side of the ground, the Sydney Uni side. Running bounce, couple of bounces. Tom Fall, the man at behind, takes the grab off the pack. Play on, says the umpire. And play on they do indeed. Bailey Stewart comes in for Sydney Uni, tries to get a soccering kick away, but it's been held onto by the Demons. Into the bottom of a pack goes the ball, and the umpire will ball it up about 40 metres out from goal, directly in front at the Sydney Uni end of the ground. 12 and a half gone.
So it's thrown up. Williams and Paik. Williams probably knocked that one down. It came to Crockmull, and Crockmull snap misses to the left. They have been wasteful in front of goal this afternoon. Sydney Uni, 4 goals, 9 they have kicked. The Demons 10 goals for. Around the grounds, the Brisbane Lions in the third quarter lead the Sydney Swans 12-13-85 to 6-2-38. As the ball is kicked towards Paik, it came to Williams, who fed it back to Fong. He was worried out of it. Picking it up now is Carr, who gives it to Powell. Powell goes for a bit of a run, hands it off to Maguire, who has one bounce. He has a second. He gets away from Hiscox and kicks it inside 50, and that's an excellent grab.
That's a good grab.
Lucas Moline drifting forward, takes the mark, perhaps too far out to score, pops it into the pocket over the head of Harry Carr. A chance goes begging for the Demons. We'll get a throw in inside their attacking 50. Just staying around the grounds. In the earlier match today, the Giants beat the Gold Coast Suns 11-19-85 to 6-6-42. And just underway in the first quarter, Southport has an 8-point lead over Aspley. We're back in play inside 50. The hurried kick out of defence is going to go out of bounds on the full. So another chance for the Demons to head inside 50. Vardaniger's ready to take the free. He just sets it up into the hot spot. Didn't really have a tall target there, the Demons. Tagliabue takes the mark, and the students will get out of trouble.
Just wondering whether Moline had been listening to your descriptions of Harry Carr before as being perhaps a little taller than we thought, and that's why he cleared him so easily. The ball has now gone out of bounds on the far side of the ground, out on the full, so it'll be the Canberra Demons to get it. The issue here is there's not too many Canberra Demons players over at that part of the ground. I reckon Harry Carr is the one who'll wind up with it. Well, you've got to go via proximity, so he's got it.
And they've had trouble getting the ball out of defence so far in this quarter, Sydney.
Carr coming in. Ball hanging in the air, and should have been a mark. In at the ground level was Pollock trying to soccer it through, but Sydney, well, they've got it away this time. They bring it up towards centre half back for them, but in front is Maynard. He flies, takes a mark just outside 50. Well, this will be interesting. He's a big man, and I know that he can kick it long, but decides not to. He gives it to Fall. Fall decides, well, he'll never die wondering. He'll have the big, long kick, and he puts it down into the goal square where Tagliabue has dropped back through a fullback for a rest, and he's not getting much of a rest down there because the ball's been following him. He turns it around, sends it back up towards the 50-metre line. Still struggling to get it outside of their defensive 50, Sydney, and it's going to be coming back in, I think, here because there's just too many Canberra players, and it will come back in now through Maynard. Little wobbly kick. I thought it might have been touched off the boot, but it wasn't. It's gone to Hardy. Now, Hardy has it.
We've seen the Demons take a lot of shots from this sort of position, 45 metres out, not much of an angle. They've lowered the eyes and they've had relatively straightforward shots on goal. They haven't been forced out to the boundary too much.
Had Baker in space there. He could have just changed his mind and gone to a man 15, 20 metres closer in. But Hardy hasn't got a major against his name yet today. Kicks from right on 50. Likes it, and it hits the post. Another point for Canberra, 10-5-65. Sydney, 4-9-33. And that is 16 minutes gone in the third quarter.
We reckon that's about 4 posters today, Chris, and the goalposts having an impact so far in this match. We saw the padding deny Tristan Davies a goal earlier on. Alex Smount has the footy in the middle of the ground, hands it back to Vardaniga. Vardaniga kicks it towards Evans, who marks on the chest on the lead. He turns around, looks for an option towards half forward. He goes to Adamson. In fact, it's Harry Carr who marks it on the chest. Still too far out to score. Carr off the right boot, kicks it towards full forward. The students with the numbers, they couldn't hold the mark. They should be able to get out of trouble. Robertson gave the hand pass off. Might have been a kick there from Carroll. And now the students are away through the middle of the ground, but they've lost the ball temporarily. Picked up again by Bartholomew's. Gets the hand pass out to the wing there. It was taken by Coxall. He gave it off. Now they get towards half forward. It's marked by Crockmall. Crockmall off the left with a high ball towards Tristan Davies, and he reels in the mark. And Tristan Davies will go back to try and kick his first goal.
Now, back of centre in that very heavy collision before. I'm just trying to work out who it was. I think it was Cordell who went in very hard, and he's only just getting to his feet now, and he looks all sorts of wobbly out there, Eddie. So Sydney might be a man short on their bench for the remainder of the day. He's up and walking. But he's very, very wobbly in the hands of a trainer.
Tristan Davies, he's lifted in this third quarter, and they've also been kicking it to him a bit more, which helps. The right foot drop punt looks pretty good. It's over the goal umpire's head. Sydney Uni have their 5th, and they just chip away at that margin.
Just been keeping an eye up the ground there at Darcy Cordell. Kicked one of the better goals we've seen today, but he's making his way off the ground under his own steam. I would suspect not a lot of steam, but making his way off, and as soon as he gets over the boundary line, Eddie, he is doubled over. So he's certainly had the wind knocked out of his sails. We'll see whether he gets back out there. The trainer's left him alone, so that's a good sign. Certainly looking better than he was a few minutes ago. But yes, the Sydney side, well, they're making small inroads here. Canberra have only kicked the 1 goal, 1 so far this quarter. Sydney have kicked 3 goals, 1. It's still a sizable lead to be overcome. 65-39, Canberra leading, and what are we, 18.5 gone in the third term.
So a 26-point lead to the Canberra Demons. They did lead by 38 at the half. Tagliabue knocked it down. They were going to run away with it, but the bounce had gone outside the circles. It'll be called back. We'll have a restart in the middle with Maynard and Tagliabue. A pretty even battle in the ruck between these two today. Certainly 2 of the better non-AFL listed ruckmen in the NEAFL competition. The umpire has paid a free kick. It'll go the way of Josh Maynard, the Canberra ruckman. So an opportunity for the Demons to go forward again. He's got Highmore calling for it short. Elects to kick it for Martin, who takes the mark. He kicks into the pocket to the lead of Mitch Hardy. Might be too far out to score. Rolls onto the right foot. Kicks it to the goal square. Pollock's waiting at the back. And Pollock couldn't quite hold on. It'll come out to Maguire. He can't keep it in play. will get a throw in the forward pocket for Canberra.
That's a couple of marks that Canberra have put down right in the teeth of goal in this quarter. Could have put a very different complexion on this game at the moment. Canberra still the favourites, but gee, Sydney would be fancying their chances if they can get another couple, maybe just one before the final term, because they've really been able to shut down Canberra much more effectively in the second half. Ball in dispute after the ball in, and it's going to come away for Sydney now towards Morrison. Morrison, he punches it away and it goes off his hands and over the boundary line. Throw in from about 70 around, maybe 60 by the time the boundary umpire gets back from the Canberra goal, as we are very close to the time on period in the third term. Play resumes. Maynard gets the best of it, puts it down towards Evans. Evans picks it up off the ground. Umpire's blown the whistle in there. Canberra gets the free.
50 metres.
And a 50-metre penalty as well. So I will confess to having been obscured as to what the free was for. Our commentary box has three rather large vertical pillars in front of us, and sometimes you've got to move from one side to the other.
The free was for holding on. I'm not sure what the 50-metre penalty was for, but there's certainly a bit of push and shove in the middle here. Tom Fall's involved. Jordan Harper's involved as well. But the real play is deep inside 50 for Canberra, where they're having a shot on goal. It looked like someone ran through the protected area, we think there, Chris. So just a little bit of ill discipline.
You've got to be disciplined, especially when you're within 70 of goal, because suddenly what would have been a passing play becomes, a fairly easy set shot. But Evans, not sure whether he kept his eye on the ball for too long or didn't look where he was kicking, because he's put it at speed and power to the right of the goalposts. And, Canberra, they've made a mess of a few opportunities, but they might get another one now as a big grab is taken in the middle of the ground by Riley Budd.
So pretty much every player except two are in the Demons' forward half of the ground as Riley Budd sends it inside 50. The students have got back with numbers. Hardy lays a strong tackle. Will get a ball up inside 50 for Canberra. They'll be disappointed to have let that opportunity go begging. They've been kicking pretty accurately so far today. 10-6 the Demons, 5-9 Sydney Uni. Maynard and Tagliabue. Tagliabue too strong on that occasion, but good pressure by the Canberra forwards. Pollock's waiting out the back. Maguire picks it up, tried to get it onto the right boot, fed it back to Pollock, who gives it to Fall. Fall's hand pass is taken by Aino, who gives it back to Maguire. He spots Osborne in the middle of the ground. Been a little quiet today, Jared Osborne. Kicks to Hardy, who marks. Still probably too far out to score. Mitch Hardy. He's been taking a lot of marks on the lead around half forward. Looking for an option. Perhaps he sets it up for a shot. It's a long kick by Mitch Hardy. Distance wasn't a problem, but he misses well away to the right. So 10-7 now, the Canberra Demons, and they lead by 28 points. And
great respect shown by Canberra to the Sydney defence there. Canberra taking that ball from inside the attacking 50 to the other side of the centre circle to come back around for Hardy to have that long bomb. And in the end, he had to have the long bomb because there was just no way through the Sydney defence. Mind you, they had everybody back on the wrong side of the centre circle from their scoring perspective. And that's why it's now taking them a bit of time to get the ball back up the other end of the ground. Bailey Stewart does that, sends the ball forward. I think that may have been Crockmall who had it for it. Sends it on the inside now. Who have they got? They've got up forward. Hiscox is waiting for it. Also underneath it was Ben Wallace. But is that Coxall's long bomb that's gone through? It is. So Coxall on the fly puts it through, and Sydney, well, that's the second time this quarter they've gone end-to-end and scored in rapid time.
Well, the late inclusion for Will Sirikowski, he kicks the students' fourth goal of the quarter. This match is starting to tighten up. It's only 22 points. We said the Demons might tire. A Saturday night game last weekend up in Darwin against the NT Thunder, and the students have come out looking pretty fresh since half-time. We're into time on in the third quarter. The Demons need another one before the break, just as a bit of a steadier.
They do, and you've got to wonder too, was it perhaps not such a good thing for them to go into half-time, having seen, they got the last couple of goals in the second quarter to really open things up, and whether mentally they've just switched off a little bit at the break and they haven't been able to get themselves back up to speed again. But we'll see how they go with now their lead threatened. And down to, as you said, Eddie, 22 points. Canberra 10-7-67. Sydney 6-9-45. And the ball goes to the advantage of Canberra, but there's only Sydney jerseys over the top of it. Baker tries to get through the pack, and he does so now. Picks it up, may have been a throw. Umpire says play on it. Hotly contested. Centre half forward for the Sydney Uni side. We'll get another ball up to take place. Right on the edge of the centre square. 24 and a bit gone now. Canberra really will want the next one. They've
blood rule. Sam Tagliabue coming off the ground.
So this will require a change. Eddie, you keep an eye on what happens on the play. I'm going to see if I can spot where the claret is on Mr. Tagliabue.
Well, it'll be Cameron Williams coming onto the field to do the ruck duties now for Sydney Uni, and we'll keep an eye on Sam Tagliabue, whether he requires a jumper change or anything, or whether it's just a quick patch-up that might take place. As Williams gets to the contest, and he's ready to go up in ruck against Josh Maynard. Maynard got a hand to it. It'll come into the path of Crockmull. Good pressure by the Demons there through Smout, who hacks it towards the wing. Fong leads the race for the ball. He's up against Carr. Fong takes it, gets the hand pass off. Oh, great follow-up tackle by Harry Carr there on Robertson. And Harry Carr wins the free kick for holding the ball.
Tagliabue's just got a little split on the hand there, so won't be off for too long. Ball goes forward for Canberra once again. Bruce was the target, but the ball goes over the boundary line off hands. Another throw-in to take place. As 25 minutes has passed on the clock. The gap was out to 38 points at half-time. It's now down to 22. So not panic stations just yet for the home side. Ball comes back into play. But they really, at the stoppages now, while Tagliabue's off, they'd really like to try and take the advantage of putting Maynard up against whoever Sydney Uni can throw at them. Ball is going to be tossed in the air by Sam Nipris. Umpire does so. Canberra get away with it. It goes inside their forward 50, but fastest onto the ball was Sam Barkley. Turns around, gives it to Goulden, and Goulden with the clearing kick around to the centre wing position, but there's too many Canberra jerseys there. Calling for it in the middle of the ground is Richardson. Wasted opportunity now. They can't go to him. They go over his head. Baker is there. Gets put under pressure. Gets the mark or the free. Gets the mark. Umpire said he had control of it. So Baker, he'd have to be getting close to 20 possessions for the day, wouldn't he? This will indeed be his 20th possession. Once he kicks it, there it is right there. Goes to centre half forward. There's plenty of people there. Ball coming off hands. Goes to ground. Turning around, and it was Hardy. Hardy, little teammate pass on to Powell. And Powell, he decides not to have a shot from 50. Lowers the eyes. We haven't seen them do much of that this quarter. Maybe a few of them have forgotten what was working in the first half. But he dropped the eyes, found the target of Harry Carr. Didn't go for the high ball to Carr. Went to his chest, and Carr should be able to take care of this one, you would imagine, Eddie.
Really good kick there by Jack Powell to spot up at Carr, and Carr trying to kick his third goal of the afternoon.
Not much of an angle to speak of, not much breeze to worry about. Goal umpire does not move. Straight over the head, and that is the third goal of the day for Harry Carr. The second goal of the quarter for the Canberra Demons, and they move on to 73. So 11-7-73, Sydney Uni 6-9-45. And just shy of a 5-goal margin here, with Harry Carr getting his third. First man to get to that mark for the afternoon.
And that's an important steadying goal, as we talked about before the break, to get that lead up back to 28 points and just keep the students beyond arm's length as we get towards three-quarter time. More than 27 and a half minutes gone in this quarter. The Demons with 2 goals for the term. Sydney Uni have put on 4 goals since half-time. We're back in the middle with Williams still in ruck while Tagliabue is getting patched up. He'll go up against Maynard as the umpire bounces the ball. Bounce slightly favours Williams, who knocks it to the back. Running onto it there is Crockmull. Now they get it forward here, the students. No mark. Fall of the ball. Maguire tries to hand it back to a teammate. They're under the pump here, the Demons' defence. Aino and Fall might have muddled that one up a little bit. It comes out the way of Foster. Foster's snap is away to the right, and again, the students just not able to make the most of their opportunities. They are 6-10. Only 2 scoring shots fewer than the Canberra Demons, who are 11-7.
Yeah, not sure if Foster had more time that he could have taken there, but again, when you're behind and it's getting later in the game, there's scoreboard pressure, there's pressure from other players, and you can rush things. Veal puts the Sydney Uni side back into attack. The ball comes now down to Cordell. Cordell, who was struggling a little bit earlier, but he's got himself back out there on the ground. He's been tackled, and umpire Nipris to ball it up. 15-20 out from the Sydney Uni goal. 29 minutes, ticks up on the clock. Ball tapped away towards Maguire. Runs through traffic, doesn't really seem terribly bothered about it. The hand pass into the path of several players. This is now rugby union being played here, and we see it rushed over for a try, but we'll call it a behind. Rushed behind, and it's another point to Sydney Uni. 6-11-47. Canberra 11-7-43. And we see Canberra this time taking their time with the restart. and bring it back in. Possible target might be Evans. No, Evans has overrun it. It'll be Pake underneath. He can't get a grab. Slaps it down to a teammate in Powell. Powell puts his kick forward, but it only goes as far as Sam Fong for Sydney Uni, and the students rebound back into the forward 50 once again. Contest for the ball that comes off the pack. Might go for Morrison. Morrison can't do much with it. Canberra, too many players in defence, but it's coming back towards Barkley. Takes a mark unopposed. Just got the break there on the man who was marking him. Sends the ball that goes on a beeline towards the behind post. It's off the hands again. Fall underneath it. Sydney come away with it. It's taken by Davies. Davies is set upon, dragged to ground. There's a call of ball for some fans, but the ball has come free. Very high kick. Waiting underneath it is Pollock for Canberra and Goulden for the students, and it's Goulden who takes it. Wheels around to his right. Sees that Carroll's on his own. Carroll pops the ball over to Robertson with a short pass. Fall then punches it both hands into the path of Adamson and the Canberra side. Suddenly they're away through Bruce. Bruce just slows things up and they go over to the far side of the ground.
So the Demons will use that outer side. The kick comes to Martin. I think it was from Richardson. Sam Martin takes the mark there on centre wing, on the outer side as his teammates stream forward. He waits for an option. He's got Bruce leading. He's got Bud closer than that, and he goes to Riley Bud, who marks on the chest, on the wing, kicks inboard for Aino, the man who runs the indoor AFL 9s competition here in the ACT, and he runs it very successfully, we must say. Nick Aino off the left foot, kicks it out towards the boundary line. Martin marks, plays on. He just pokes it towards half forward. He was under pressure. And he just rushed the kick there and he's turned it over. So the students to rebound off half-back. Robertson takes the mark, thought about a hand pass, decides to wheel onto the right foot and drive the ball towards half-forward. It won't get to Tristan Davies in time. And we've got a pretty interesting final quarter coming up here at Football Park. At three-quarter time, the Canberra Demons 11-7-73 hold a 26-point lead over Sydney Uni, who are 6-11-47.
Siren sounds, and Sam Nipris, well, he's having a big afternoon as an umpire, and he's got a very big morning tomorrow morning as a Tottenham Hotspur fan. Got to confess I'm a Spurs fan myself as well, so looking forward to the UEFA Champions League final almost as much as Sam Nipris is, but he'll be hoping it goes better than that bounce does as we wait for the secondary start here to the final term, with the Canberra Demons leading 73-47 over Sydney Uni. Sydney, well, they need 6 goals at the moment to bridge the gap. Canberra probably need a couple just to make sure they feel safe. And Fall puts them into attack for the first time in the final term. Ball in hot dispute at the moment. It was a good little tap forward there. I reckon it was Stevenson who got the hand on it for the students. Now the ball comes away. It's with Richardson. Richardson driven into the ground, and the umpire has said holding the ball, so it'll be a free kick to go to the Sydney Uni students. Bailey Stewart, after a few moments, finally gets the ball, puts it in towards the centre circle, and from Stevenson on hand to Hiscox. Hiscox puts the ball in towards centre half forward, picked up off the turf by the Demons, and they turn around and try to get away from defence. Maynard, little ball to Moline. Moline has options, goes for a bounce. That wasn't the option I was expecting him to take. Gets it onto a teammate in Smout. Smout sends it forward, and it winds up with Hardy. Hardy, centre wing position. Out of the shade of the small stand on this side of the ground, goes high and long in towards Paik. Bruce flies in front, and it winds up with nobody and picked up off the ground by Stern. Stern for the students, turns it around, and they're still going through Fong. Fong up towards forward. There's no one inside the forward 50 at the moment, so Sydney will have to wait or go long. It's with Banuelos, and Banuelos in towards centre half forward. Finds Foster, and Foster about 50 metres out, thought about going left, thought about going right, thought about hand passing to Bailey Stewart, and then decided to go for D, none of the above. Shaped up for a shot and instead pops it out the back to Goulden. Goulden, not quite sure what the aim of the kick was. They're mucking it around a little bit here. They might come unstuck, the Sydney side, finally get the ball in towards the forward 50, but it's on a fairly acute angle. Flying, and it comes down to the hands of Spina for Canberra. Spina, he sends it up to Barkley. Still down on the ground there is Davies, the man who flew in the marking contest before. Robertson. Ball is working its way around. We might have the interesting situation where it's going to go over the top there. They have to stop play. They do.
Tristan Davies, he was in the best position. He was just sandwiched between 2 Canberra Demons players. He's fallen very hard, and the trainers there assisting him, and the umpires doing the right thing, stopping players. The ball was approaching that area. So we've gone nearly 3 minutes in the final quarter. It's a 26-point lead to the Canberra Demons. Davies is on his feet now, and looks like we'll be ready to get back underway.
We'll play the Superman fan there because he looked like he was at death's door a minute ago, but he's up and he's okay. And now the ball comes back to Morrison. And this time Morrison is on the right, comes in with the right foot towards the hot spot, but again, it's just it's been the story at this end of the ground all day, really, where the ball's gone in towards the hot spot and it's been under too much contest and really has not been capitalised upon. And it's the Canberra Demons who have the ball. Calling for it is Osborne at centre half back, but instead the Demons go around the outer side of Phillip Oval.
So Spina with a long kick that's been chopped off there by Adam Goulden, who spent 5 seasons with South Adelaide in the Sandful. Drives it towards half forward. Spina went the spoil, but the students get the crumb and the students get the goal. They get the opening goal of the final quarter. They cut the margin to 20 points. It's game on here at Football Park.
Good work from Harry Morrison. Had a very easy shot earlier today that he made a complete meal of. That one was considerably harder, but he's converted it, and he gets the first goal of the final quarter. And, well, they keep chipping away and chipping away. Canberra have 11 goals, 7. Sydney have 7 goals, 11, but it's a 20-point ball game, Eddie.
How good's Harry Morrison? Nice finish there on the run, and important to get the opening goal of the final quarter. And as we have spoken about in this second half, the Demons do tend to tire. Not so much this season, but they are coming off a road trip to Darwin. Sydney Uni a bit fresher, had the week off last week. Demons will be desperate to win this match. It's their captain's 150th. Aaron Bruce, just the 4th player in NEAFL history to play 150 games. The first Canberra-based player to do so. They've got a tough trip to Queensland next week to play Southport. They don't want to be 3-5 ahead of that trip up to Queensland here, the Demons. They want to hold on in this final quarter. It's thrown up. Neither ruckman able to get a decisive hit out on that one. Maguire was waiting for it to come out. It won't. We'll get a secondary ball up here in the middle of Football Park. It's thrown up again. Williams and Maynard comes to Evans, who got it out to Baker. Baker with a very high kick. Coming underneath it was Martin. It was knocked away from him. Hacked forward by Harper. Again knocked away from Martin. Harper knocks it forward again. Evans was ripped off the ball. He was held without it. And Cal Evans will get a free. In fact, it's play on to advantage. No. It's going to come back. No advantage. And so Cal Evans will take the free kick at the attacking edge of the centre square. It was Jordan Harper, the former co-captain, who was keen to run away with the footy. But it does come back to Evans, former Queanbeyan Tiger, Mulrooney medalist in the local AFL Canberra competition last year. He kicks it towards full forward. No mark. Powell's waiting at the back. Barkley was there too, and the students rush it through for a behind.
You mentioned a couple of times today, Eddie, that Canberra playing Southport next week. Southport currently having the game taken very much to them by Aspley up there in Queensland. So if Southport go down today and Canberra can win today, that game takes on a massive amount of importance next week, because Southport will be on 24 points, Canberra will be on 16, and a win next week for Canberra, should they finish off the job here today, would put them within just one game of their Queensland rivals. Ball is back in play. Could have been a push in the back there from Bud. Umpire has allowed play to go on. Diving in through is Baker. Baker has picked up the free. So for Canberra, chance to just stop and take stock. Baker comes around the outside to Bud. This is all Canberra have got to do, is just play sensibly here. They don't have to take any risks. They can run up their possession count quite a little bit this afternoon as well. Maguire has it. And on his outside, they've got Highmore. Highmore is there. Now, a little bit up the ground is Aino. Past Aino is Bud, but now Canberra's starting to get a little bit cute and going back too far. Ball goes to Spina. Fortunately for Canberra, that on his own over there is Richardson, because there could have been all sorts of trouble. It wasn't Richardson, sorry, it was Vardaniga. And now here we go. This is what's happened. Vardaniga has had the little kick. It goes to a Sydney Uni player, and fortunately for Canberra, he gets stuck in a tackle and spun round through 720, maybe 730, 740, 750 degrees. And it's a free kick to Canberra, but they really do need to find somebody who's in some space, and Martin was that man. He was calling for it. He was in 15 metres of clear territory in the middle of the ground, but instead Canberra continued to work it up around the far side of the ground. Look at this. There's only one man inside Canberra's forward 50, and that's Sam Fong for Sydney Uni. He's able to run a half marathon at the moment. He's gone for one bounce. Thought about going for a second, but instead was able to give off the hand pass. And now a couple of handballs, and the Sydney Uni side find themselves in the middle of the ground, coming up through Stewart. Stewart over to the far side, gets it onto Goulden. Goulden running into attack now for the Uni students. Ball comes off hands. Bud puts a little hand pass underneath the pack. That was actually clever play from Bud. Over the top there, it might be Smout for Canberra. No, it's not. Smout's on this side. So it's Richardson who comes away with it. Richardson. Now he gives the ball on to Hardy. Hardy, he's only got one target, and that target is Carr. Carr, he needs to get it to his own advantage. He gets the ball and then gets tackled. He's going to get done for holding the ball in the goal square, or has he managed to get onto his foot? Oh, don't tell me. He's got it through. Oh, put that on your highlight reel, Harry Carr. He had a Goal of the Year nominee from this ground last year. I don't think that one will make it through. But look at it, Eddie. Look at that for a goal.
I don't know how he got that ball to his boot, but he just managed to get enough onto it, and it just managed to dribble through and avoid that fat padding. And Harry Carr with an important goal for the Canberra Demons. They're back out by 27 points, and that is 4 goals for Harry Carr.
I'm sorry, I've completely lost it on that. That was just thoroughly bizarre. I could almost make a soccer reference on it, couldn't I? Could almost make a soccer reference for it. You didn't watch you haven't been watching the soccer, have you?
No.
No.
You still can for the benefit of other people.
Lucas Moura from Tottenham Hotspur, the goal that put Spurs into the Champions League final. It was every bit as unlikely as that. Well done, Harry Carr. And yeah, one in the first, one in the second, one in the third, one in the fourth. Is that going to be enough for the Canberra side as the margin is back out to 27 points, and we'll have a secondary restart just adjacent to the centre circle.
So we're back in the middle of the ground. It's thrown up, knocked down by Maynard. Maguire laid a tackle. It's just bobbling around in the centre. Baker gets the clearance, kicks it inside 50. Paik recovered well. Paik from the 50 off the left foot. It's a long kick. It's going to drift through. Alex Paik has 3. The Demons string together back-to-back goals, and they're well on top in the final quarter.
That one much more orthodox from Alex Paik than the previous one from Harry Carr, but it really doesn't matter whether they're kicked through halfway up the post from 50 metres out or whether they dribble through from off the toe of the boot from on the ground in the centre in the goal square. They're all worth 6 points, and Canberra, they've restored that margin. It's back out to 33 points, 13-8-86 over Sydney Uni, 7-11-53.
And Paik's coming into the middle now to do the ruck, but we've enjoyed that forward combination today. Alex Paik and Harry Carr. Paik obviously a bit taller, but Carr with a bit of height as well. And Paik, he had those 2 bananas from the boundary line, this time on the run from outside 50. He's had a very good afternoon.
So Nick McGuinness gets set to restart play. 10.5 gone in the final term. There's his little trot that he does. And Paik now scores the goal, goes into the ruck, and then watches the ball go into the bottom of a pile. Alex Paik wanted to just dive in and claim a free kick in there. Umpire doesn't award it. It goes up again. This time Tagliabue gets the best of it, but again another pack forms. So Nick McGuinness is getting plenty of exercise, doing his shuttle runs forwards and backwards and forwards and backwards. Third time lucky, perhaps. Tagliabue taps it down. Can it come out of the centre circle? It does. Not terribly far. We'll wait to see who gets away with it. It comes Canberra's way. Waiting underneath it was Pollock. He's applied plenty of pressure, but it's Sydney Uni who turn it around now. They come back up to the forwards with Foster waiting underneath it, but he can't control it, and it winds up with Budd for Canberra. Clearing kick for him around onto the far side of the ground. Underneath it was Smout. Got one hand to it. Couldn't do much else with it. And Sydney have got plenty of chances to come away with it, but it only goes as far as Adamson for the Demons. Ball still being contested, and we'll wait and see if anyone can actually get away with it. So Sydney, they've gone backwards to go forwards, and they've got Tagliabue over in the middle. They don't go towards him. Instead, they go towards Bartholomew's. Bartholomew's short ball to Barkley. Barkley puts them into attack once again, and that's a good mark and play on. As the attempt on goal is off to the side. I think it was Davies who took the shot. Was it Davies? Or was it Banwellos? Either way, it's a point. And ball will be brought back in by Tom Fall. And he is a man who can go for the booming kick from out of the goal square. And he does just that. Gets it a good 60 metres, I reckon, before it lands. Taken off the pack there. And Canberra continuing through Aino. But Aino goes in underneath the pack and is tackled. It'll be a ball up.
It was Banwellos with that behind. And the umpire will come in and throw it up between wing and half forward for Sydney Uni, who really need to make the most of every opportunity they have in the final 20 or 25 minutes of this match. The Demons trying to edge it forward, but they've just lost the ball. Bartholomew's kicks it inside 50 for Sydney Uni, and diving in was Banwellos, and this time he'll get a chance to take a set shot on goal.
Be a little bit easier for him than the running shot that he had before. Had a fairly respectable afternoon. He's already got a couple of goals to his credit, has Banwellos.
So Tom Banwellos, he won't waste too much time here because they do need to get things moving fairly quickly. Having said that, he also doesn't want to rush it too much because he do need to kick the goal. Tom Banwellos, he'll kick from not much more than 30 metres out, pretty much directly in front. The right foot drop punt makes the goal umpire work and misses to the right. So a couple of missed opportunities there from Tom Banwellos. And Sydney Uni now 7-13-55. The Demons are 13-8-86. It's only one extra scoring shot that the Canberra side have had. The long kick in ended up with Fong, who couldn't quite hold on to it. So Evans hands it forward to Paik, who's got a bit of space in front of him. Kicks it for Bruce, the captain, in his 150th. They'd love to get him a goal in this final quarter. He couldn't get the ball there. Barkley gave it to Goulden, who kicked into the middle of the ground to Hiscox. He spots a man over the top. Might be Coxall, who runs onto it. He kicks towards half forward, and coming out to take the mark on the lead there was Stern, who kicks into the pocket. And the students will get another shot on goal, and here is Nathan Coxall, the late inclusion, already with one goal on the afternoon, and he'll have a chance to score from the right forward pocket. Umpire just sets him on the correct angle. It's a pretty tight angle. He may look to go the J-curve from here. He will. He runs. He goes with the left foot, and he just hits the post again. 5 posters this afternoon. Sydney Uni now 7-14. Canberra 13-8.
And I reckon those 5 posters, they've all been the right post this afternoon.
I think that's right.
I think they've all been the right post. And that's funny because they've been at both ends. Ball back in play, and on the far side of the ground, it's Bud who gets in over the top of it, loses his footing as the ball goes over the boundary line, so it'll be a throw-in. 15 minutes gone now. You'd think this one just about safe for Canberra. It is exactly a 5-goal margin. And Canberra have 21 scoring shots. Sydney have 21 scoring shots, Eddie. But exactly a 5-goal margin. So Canberra, we've seen them kick in accurately in the past. They'll be very happy with how most things have gone here this afternoon. Ball in the middle of the ground and being sent back into attack for Sydney Uni by Barclay. Pack flies, Fall can't get there. Goes to the advantage of Foster, I think it may have been for the Sydney Uni side. Plenty of players over the top of it now. Coming in fairly late is Adamson for Canberra. He's standing there, but the umpire's already said he's going to have another ball up. This one will be about 55 out from the Sydney goal. Tapped to no clear advantage. A kick comes out towards Barclay for the Sydney Uni side. It was too hot for him, and as has been the pattern of play this afternoon, at around the 15-minute mark of each quarter, we've suddenly got multiple congestions and no real clear play. So yet another ball up. See if we can buck that trend here this afternoon as the ball comes free for the Sydney Uni students. So they've got a few players inside their forward 50. Davies is one of them. Over the top was Banuelos, and he gets a second chance at it. Pops a little hand pass back over his head. Taken on one hand by Richardson for Canberra. He's cleared away only as far as Bartholomew's for the Sydney Uni students. Steps around the tackle, puts the ball on his right foot, going in towards the forward 50. But it's only as far as Alex Smout who takes the mark before being maybe nudged just a little to the ground.
Alex Smout coming up for disposal number 22. Been a very consistent player with the Demons so far this season. He's 5th in the NEAFL MVP rankings at the moment. Highmore under a lot of pressure. Managed to just get a hand pass away, and the umpire says, let's throw that one in. So we'll have a boundary throw in inside 50 for the students. They trail by exactly 5 goals. As we see Williams and Maynard getting ready to go at it in ruck again. Williams works his way in front. He knocked it forwards. It went past Fall. In the end, Fall was able to run onto it. Then he fell. Fall fell. We'll get a ball up. Still in the forward pocket for the students. So they've managed to lock the ball inside their 50 over the past minute or so. They just haven't been able to take the most of their opportunities. It's thrown up again. Came off the boot of Maynard there, I think. The snap...
Does that count as a hit out?
Possibly. Is partly smothered. Spina couldn't take it. Coxall's on hands and knees. Works it out. Demons with numbers. They apply some pressure. We'll get another stoppage, I think. Umpire waits, and he decides he will come in and throw it up. So still in a dangerous position for Sydney Uni. Every player is in the Sydney University forward half of the ground, and there are only about 4 players who aren't inside the attacking 50. Williams knocked it down. Powell gets it out of the area. So now it comes into some space. But running onto it will be Reinhard for Sydney Uni. He gathers. He's corralled by Carr. He's just shrugs the tackle there from Harry Carr. Then he sets it up inside 50. And managing to find a bit of space is Monty Crockmull, who's pretty keen to get the hand pass off. Now the long kick towards Banuelos in the goal square. Smout gets back. And the mark is paid to Alex Smout, who's done a good job drifting back into defence in this final quarter. He kicks it out towards Harper, who gets a bit of a push after he took the mark. Umpire tells him to just go back and take his kick.
Harper away round the outer side of the ground. Sorry, Ed. The ball clearing the head of Hardy. And again, there's plenty of Sydney Uni jerseys around there. There's only 4 players in this half of the field, and 3 of them have just run back. So don't be surprised to see it rebound into attack once again for Sydney as it comes up for Robertson. He can't control it. Ball's in the bottom of the pile there. I think those are the green boots of Harper you can see on the end of the legs of a player trying to pull the ball out from the bottom of the stack. But it will be another ball up. 19 gone, final term, and that is Harper. His hand pass. A couple of teammates involved in it, but again, they're going to get to... Oh, there's only one blue and yellow jersey there, and that's on Pollock. Pollock runs into trouble. Too many Sydney Uni jerseys around at the moment. They're not really possessing it effectively. The kick, little chip kick comes from outside the 50 into the 50, and now they're away. Budd, hand pass, gets on to Richardson. Richardson finding support, and now it's back with Budd. Budd can go for Richardson again. Doesn't, goes for Martin instead. Martin makes it a little bit awkward, gets there, gets a hand pass, and then a kick of his own away towards the boundary line, and it has been paid as deliberate. Well, there was all sorts of things they could have chosen in there, and I don't think anyone's going to argue too much with that. Cordell brings it back into play for Uni. Comes to Hiscox. Hiscox then on to Veal. Veal, chip kick, centre half forward, waiting for it is Foster. And he's jarred his leg as he's landed there by the looks of it.
Bit of cramp perhaps for Nick Foster.
Could be. He's not game to take the 50-metre shot. Goes around the outside, finds Tagliabue. Tagliabue, he saw that he had Stewart there and thought about it, but then decided, well, I haven't got one today, might as well have a crack myself. So he's going to have a shot from 50 out, 45-degree angle. I like it when the big ruckman goes for the big kick.
He just thought about chipping it off, but I think the captain's going to take the responsibility here and have a shot.
Well, goes for the big left foot up, and, well, he kicks it like a big ruckman. We saw Harry Madden kick a few in his day for Carlton. We saw him kick a lot more wobbly ones, and there's much more in the Harry Madden mould than anything else. Another point for Sydney Uni, 7:15:57. Canberra 13:8:86, and we're at the 21-minute mark of the final term as the ball brought back into play. Waiting for it is Aino, but it may have gone out of bounds. It has, so the ball will come back to Sydney Uni, and it will be via Darcy Cordell.
Cordell keen to get things moving on quickly. Puts it to the hot spot. Canberra had the numbers. It spilled to Barkley. He's immediately brought to ground. Stern is there as well. There are more Sydney Uni players who appear to be struggling with a bit of cramp. Banuelos just doing a bit of a stretch there. We'll have another ball up directly in front of the Sydney University goal. It's thrown up. Tagliabue got hands to it. The kick on goal is away to the right. Might have been Morrison again, who's been lurking around goal throughout this match, just not able to convert that opportunity. And so the Demons will look to clear from defensive 50. Might be Smout doing the kick-in duties. He's done a good job in defence in this final quarter. Alex Smout drives it towards Riley Budd, who flew high, perhaps flew a bit early. And in the end, it lands in the lap of Sydney University. They go forward again. No one can take the mark for the ball. Banuelos just tapped it on. This time the snap-on goal is through. Morrison gets another one. And Sydney Uni just trimmed that margin down to 24 points. Or 22 points, in fact.
We are into time on here. 22 minutes gone. Nice work from Morrison. I just wonder whether Canberra have decided that they're trying to shut up shop more than trying to add to their score at the moment, because there doesn't seem to be any great urgency about getting the ball down the other end. There's just a bit of playing in front and playing some spoiling tactics. As the gap is now down to, well, it's inside 4 goals. Wouldn't be unprecedented, wouldn't be impossible from here. It'd be very difficult and certainly be very exciting if we got the grandstand finish, Ed, but...
We did see in round 1 the Gold Coast nearly snatch a match that Canberra had won for most of the day. The Demons were just able to hold on that day. The students will have to work quickly, but as you say, certainly not impossible. We've gone 23 minutes. They are within 4 goals. It's Paik and Tagliabue in the middle of the ground. The students get the clearance. It just skews out towards the wing. Chasing after it is Hiscox. Tries to gather, can't pick it up. Maguire tapped it out. Stewart's waiting for it to come out. We're going to have a ball up near the attacking edge of the centre square for the Canberra Demons. And Chris, you've gone back to the book. What happened in round 1?
Yeah, round 1, Canberra kicked 1 goal 2 in the final term to finish up at 14-10-94. The Gold Coast kicked 6 goals 1 and went down by 11 points. And if I remember rightly, Eddie, it was a late goal. Maybe 2 of the last 3 goals were scored by Canberra in that game, or one of the last 3 goals to put it out of reach. But yeah, a 6-goal-1 last quarter in favour of the Gold Coast. And what's it been here? 2 goals to 1 so far, or 2 goals to 2. But yeah, Canberra would want 1 more just to feel safe.
They've been inaccurate again in this quarter, Sydney Uni. They have kicked 2 goals 5, where the Demons have kicked 2 goals 1. So I think the students are going to rue their inaccuracy on goal when Coach Tom Morrison reviews this match. Boundary throw-in. Near half forward for Canberra. Tagliabue knocked it forwards for Sydney Uni, but Maguire took it, gave it to Evans. Evans kicked it into the body of Maguire. It rebounded towards Tagliabue. He was tackled by Paik. Umpire calls play on. Spilt to Stewart, who gave it backwards for Veal. Veal, now it ends up with Goulden, who received it from Fong. Goulden goes into the middle of the ground to Stern. It's knocked away from him. Hiscox is there for Sydney Uni. Taps it forward. It's cut off by Martin. Gives it to Carr. He's got Richardson. Guy Richardson runs to 48. Sends it goalward. And he hits the post.
And it's the left post.
It's the left post this time. That would have just about sealed the match. But the goalposts having a big effect today.
They are indeed. They're one of the major scoring factors this afternoon. The Sydney Uni side, they know that time is starting to get away from them. That's, I think, come off the bonce there of Maguire, and he's managed to, well, keep the ball in play. Chasing around now is Hardy. Hardy has the ball. He's trying to break the tackle. Might get called for holding here. Will get called for holding here. Sydney, they've got to pick it up and go quickly. Sierakowski has it. Looking for options downfield. He's got a few of them. But instead he goes short. Gives it to Stevenson. And Lewis Stevenson, hand pass to Veal. Veal, little handball over the top, keeps it in play. Well done, Crockmell. Crockmell putting the ball into attack, but waiting underneath it. Was that Paik there, taking the mark and then going down like a sack of the proverbial potatoes?
Yep.
Just wait and see what's going on here. I don't know why he went down. There's a couple of Canberra players starting to cramp up. I saw Bud stretching earlier. Spina is another one who was just trying to stretch out a cramp. And now, well, Paik is up. Just a heavy landing, I think, more than anything else. And Canberra go across goal and give it back to Bud. And no mark taken, but there's a free kick
Chopping
coming
the arms.
for the chop on the arms. And Canberra will have the ball. They're not going to be in any real hurry here to get the ball out of dodge, Canberra, but with 26.5 gone and a 23-point lead, they're just about sorted for the afternoon. Ball going around the far side. Bruce was the target, but he was very quickly joined by several other players. And again, after the contest, the ball goes over the boundary line for yet another throw-in far side of Phillip Oval.
Well, Aaron Bruce, he'll be hoping to celebrate his 150th match with a win. At the moment, his side up by 23 points. Not too long to go in this final quarter. We've gone nearly 27 minutes. It's thrown back into play. Paik and Tagliabue in ruck. Paik got hands to that, knocked it down to Maguire, who fed it backwards for Smout. Smout hand passes it, but getting in the way was Bartholomew, who knocked it to Stern. His kick is towards half forward. Bounced in front of Coxall. It was picked up by Vardaniga. His kick will be turned over. So it's been a pretty frenetic past few minutes as the students go forward again, but sitting back is Tom Highmore, who takes the mark on his chest, and he'll just look to soak up a bit of time from the clock. He's got an option in Aino, who marks overhead, and still in the back pocket. He kicks it for Bud. Bud's in between two students. He got hit very heavily there, Riley Bud, and that's a free kick against Sam Fong. And Bud is a bit slow to get up, and Jack Powell's pretty keen to remonstrate. Oh, that's some high contact. I think this is going to be a 50-metre penalty. Davies is involved there. Powell as well. The umpire's jogging back the 50-metre penalty, and Riley Budd will be marched 50 metres forward.
Keep an eye and see if any notebooks come out, Eddie.
It was somewhat similar, perhaps, and we will have a look a bit later, but somewhat similar perhaps to the Gary Ablett incident last week, Chris, up on the Gold Coast.
It's a 100-metre penalty, so that's a double 50.
So two incidents there perhaps in that bit of push and shove. Or again, a protected area. So we had the initial 50-metre penalty for the high contact, followed up by the protected area 50-metre penalty. We've still got plenty of push and shove. Meanwhile, Riley Budd, who plays his game in defence, he'll be pretty keen to kick a goal.
Well, I don't know how often Riley Budd would have had a chance to take a set shot. We'll see if he's got a routine of any description, because he'll be kicking from 20 out directly in front. And I don't know if he's going to get too many more opportunities after that effort. That one's sprayed across to the right, and another point for the Canberra Demons.
Takes the sting out of the game a bit for Sydney Uni, being marched 100 metres away when they were in an attacking position. Ill discipline costing them there. They've got the ball in the centre square. It was with Carroll. He was dispossessed. Comes now to Williams, who gave it off to Goulden. He was dispossessed as well. It's kicked inside 50 for Canberra, but the students have the numbers and they're keen to move it quickly. They've certainly had plenty of spirit in this match, Sydney Uni. It's just been inaccuracy, really, which has cost them. A good tussle there by Nick Aino. He has Evans coming in to lend support. Evans is escorted over the boundary line by Nick Foster. A free kick will go Evans' way against Foster. In fact, it'll go to Angus Baker. No, it does come back now to Cal Evans.
I tell you who wasn't happy about that was Darcy Cordell. He'd put in a really good effort for Sydney Uni and feels that he got absolutely no reward for it.
So Cal Evans comes back behind the mark. And just frustration starting to boil over for the students. The kick is towards Maynard, who couldn't hold on, but he recovered well, the big ruckman. Hand pass forward, couldn't find a target. It ends up with Fong. He gives it backwards there to Williams. Williams kicks it for Goulden to run onto. He gathers. He's got a little bit of space. Goes with the left foot kick inboard for Bartholomew's, who gave the hand pass off quickly. It'll come back to Bartholomew's, who gives it to Williams. Williams tries to give it to Crockmore, but getting in the way is Mitch Maguire, and there's full time. And the Canberra Demons get a win in their captain's 150th match. Their first ever win at Football Park in Phillip. The Canberra Demons 13-10. 86. They've beaten Sydney Uni 8-16-64. In fact, it was 13-10, 88. The Canberra Demons. Relief for the Canberra side to win at home, and they'll be very happy to have given their captain a win in his 150th.
Outside of the top couple on the table, there is a massive logjam, and you've got to beat the sides that you're near to. And both of these sides came into the game this afternoon with 3 wins on the ledger. So Canberra, they'll be very happy to take that one. They'll go to 4-4, and their percentage will receive a sizable boost. Sydney will be 3-4. And they'll drop back just a wee bit. But for Canberra, goals this afternoon, Harry Carr with 1 in each quarter, including a truly bizarre one in the final term. Alex Pake with 3, and then it was singles to Smout, Baker, Pollock and Adamson. I've missed somebody. Sam Martin had 2 in there as well. That's who I've missed. And for Sydney Uni, not as many really to write home about in the end. Just the 8 goals for the afternoon. And I have 2 for Morrison, 2 for Banwellos, and singles to Cordell, Coxall, Davies and Hiscox. But yes, Eddie, a 24-point win in the end to the Canberra Demons side. They won 3 of the 4 quarters here this afternoon quite comfortably. They'll be relatively happy with that, but they'll know to take on Southport next week up on the Gold Coast. They'll need to do more.
Yeah, the match was won in the second quarter when the Demons kicked 7 goals to 1, but the students really hurting themselves with 1 goal 7 in the first quarter, and then in that final quarter, what did they kick? 2 goals 5. So inaccurate kicking hurting Sydney Uni today. We were very impressed with Angus Baker, particularly in the first half. He ended the match with 24 disposals, 5 marks, 8 tackles, 3 clearances and 3 inside 50s, and that goal. Alex Smout ended up being Canberra's leading possession winner. A strong second half from him. He finished with 26 disposals and 8 clearances. For Sydney Uni, Jake Bartholomew's was the leading disposal winner on the ground with 27. Jake Veal had 26 as well. As you say, Canberra next week travel up to Fankhauser Reserve to face Southport. Sydney Uni host the NT Thunder at Blacktown. Both those games are at midday next Saturday.
Indeed. We're just about done from here for this afternoon, but where it has been a good win to the Canberra Demons. They've won 13-10-88 to the Sydney Uni side, 8-16-54. Still plenty of NEAFL action to come for the remainder of this round 9 weekend, with Southport and Aspley still playing up there at Fankhauser Reserve at the moment, or Fankhauser Reserve I should say, with Southport currently leading by 7, and then there's another game not too far off starting with the NT Thunder hosting Redland at TIO Stadium, and there I think a great sight to leave you with, as the Canberra Demons have registered their first win here at the Phillip Oval, and they've done it in the 150th game of a true servant of the Canberra Demons, Aaron Bruce, as he is chaired off the ground. Eddie Williams, thank you for your company this afternoon.
Thank you, Chris.
And to everyone who's watched and taken part in our broadcast this afternoon, thank you for your company. But the Canberra Demons getting up by 24 this afternoon at Phillip Oval.